What's up, everybody? Welcome to our live stream here on Lichess and Twitch as well as YouTube. So, we're hosting an analysis stream tonight. I got a lot going on, so we're a little bit late, but everything is fine. Astbate, so the resub for 4 months in a row. What happened there? Oh no. 86 total, we'll take it. Somebody forgot to subscribe at some point. All right, 86 months total subscriber. Par day. Resubscribe to tier 1, 4 months in a row for Astbate. All right, guys, analysis stream today. We're up, we're running. We got sound, audio, video. Ponda's here. I'm here. Rudolph Spielman is here. Morales is here. Who's Pre? I know who that is. Astbate, Mule Skinner, Nefidov, and then the mysterious power of the new, who I don't know who that is. I'm not even sure they're a subscriber. But they keep submitting games for the stream. I don't even know if they're a subscriber to the stream or not. Pirate, if you beat Vasil Ivanchuk and he starts crying, would you also cry with him? Maybe. I'm not a big, I keep my emotions, I keep my sadness, my deep sadness inside. Although I do have emotions, sadness isn't one I show a lot. Maybe. I'm not a big crier, but if I ever did cry, yeah, maybe that would be the reason for crying in unity with Vasil Ivanchuk. All right, I've got the very, very important Mr. Slow submission of Rudolph Spielman versus Alexander Flamberg. We've got Morales' game Pre. Who is that again? That was some Prism. Pre stands for Prism. All right, let's just fix that. I meant to put Prism. All right, Pre. Prism, Astbate, Mule Skinner, Nefidov, Power of the New, and maximum like one more. I'm doing a maximum 10 games tonight. But we're going to start with Astbate's game, maybe. Because Morales sometimes shows up. Usually not, though, right? Like, Morales actually never does show up. I want to wait until, I guess Morales has something on Tuesday nights, because he's actually never here while I'm live. I want to save Rudolph to see if maybe Mr. Slow shows up for us. I did start late, so people never know when I'm going to be here. Guys, please support the stream if you can. I've got to shut down my my donation bar. We've got enough for the donation goal. I want to take my time though. I'm still deciding on what desktop we're gonna get. I've been really busy with stuff like taxes. This has not been an easy week. But I said, okay, who we start with? Morales, then maybe some Prism, Astbate. We'll go from there. And wait until Mr. Slow shows up or not before we start the Mr. Slow game. He doesn't like to go first. So I'll go with Morales first. Sometimes Morales, I guess, does show up, but not frequently. All right, let's take a look at Morales' game. This is probably 3-0. For a guy who complains about losing on time a lot, he plays an awful lot of fast games. 3+2. So this is 3+2 against easy chess top. It's not often you see a ZZ Top chess fan, but okay. We've got Astbate. Morales is black. D4. Knight F6. And now Morales used to play the Budapest Gambit, but he's gone more mainstream in an attempt to play more solidly. He's also played the modern, but that's against E4 usually. Somewhere else, we're seeing a Queen's Indian Nimzo type of repertoire. Here, it's actually a Nimzo after knight c3, bishop b4. And white plays the old main line e3, which I think is kind of like sophisticated, and most people, it's a little too subtle, I think, for many players. More of positional variation for white. I don't think that it's the kind of opening that would be that popular in blitz. With stronger players, maybe. So most players tend to play like classical queen c2. We've got e3 castles. Now, I'm not going to go into theory of this position, but c5 is like the sharpest. And you can also play b6. And that's about, the most important. d5 is a move, but very few people play d5 in this position. Otherwise, you wouldn't play the Nimzo. So castles, and now knight e2, and this is called Reshevsky. This was called the Reshevsky variation. Sometimes it's confused with Rubinstein variation, which is after c5, knight e2. Fischer no, Fischer played differently. I think Fischer played b6 on move 4. Yeah, Fischer played b6 on move 4. So if then knight e2, then bishop a6. Here b6 is too slow because of a3. So black doesn't have a lot of options. There's an odd move though. c6. I think that this had been, I think this might have been advertised by John Gustafson, or Jan, on the old Chess 24 videos, because I had a student who mentioned it. c6 looks familiar. It's a very modern move. I think in a lot of positions you play c6 and then d5 with the idea of taking back with the c pawn. It also creates a square for this fallback. And now I remember something else. You don't have to play d5. You can also play like d6. Anyway, that's something I don't know too much about. Here you play rook e8. This I know goes back to at least the early 90s. And years ago, this variation was considered like very unusual. But I think the engines like it. And I've been playing this in blitz for years. Well, we can de-Nimzo-tize our position with bishop f8. And I always ask myself, why am I playing this if I'm playing the King's Indian? I'm turning Nimzo into King's Indian. a3, bishop f8, not to give up the bishop. And now you can look at the score here and say, well, white is like negative in the statistics. And you might want to ask why. Well, a couple reasons for that. Objectively, the position isn't better for black. But I imagine that strong players tend to play this variation. And that's the first thing. The second thing is that, as I said, the e3 Nimzo is a very subtle kind of line. So I think that a lot of players that play it with white may not like fully appreciate exactly what they're doing. Because I don't really think that white should have a negative score here. Now, knight f4 was played, and this seems to be a very rare move. I know there was a game I went over like quite a few years ago where I'm trying to remember the move order. Milov, for lack of a better, actually I don't know where he lives. Vadim Milov, maybe he lives in like Europe. Anyway, he had a game where he lost badly, I think, with an early b4. Maybe not immediately in this position. So knight f4. That move, the knight looks like it's likely to get attacked by our e-pawn, which makes the knight move seem a bit odd in a way. See, here's the game, the Vietnamese Tran Tuan Minh against Carlsen 2018. I don't remember how strong this guy is. He's got a couple games here with white. There was one Vietnamese player who's risen up and is seemingly like among the top 3 from Vietnam, but I'm not sure if it's the same guy. Anyway, knight f4 seems kind of weird. Knight g3 isn't great either, but it's less exposed there to attack. That's more of a standard move. Also doesn't block the f pawn. White could obviously play e4. Oh, you see, now that's interesting. Yuri Shulman against Vladimilov. Speaking of Yuri Shulman, I think I actually lost to Yuri like years and years and years ago in this exact, not this exact, but in the line with e3 92. So Yuri Shulman with a game with Milov with black, interesting. That's weird. I swear I saw a Milov game where he lost with white. All right, anyway. So white plays knight f4, black plays d6. This is definitely the right idea to go for e5 to attack the knight on f4. White plays bishop e2 now. And then black plays e5. You know, so what is white doing really? You know, he doesn't want to trade pawns. See that? Like there's 8 games here. No, 5 games to trade pawns, 3 games not. Why does trading pawns benefit white? Astbate, are you the only person in the chat? Guys, don't forget to donate. Subscribe. Donate some gift subs. We need your support. Financially, you know, tariffs, sanctions. The world's getting tougher. Swedish supermarket prices are going up. I need your support to help me keep going. We've got e5 on the board. Now, what does trading pawns do? Trading the 4th rank pawn for 3rd rank pawn. So Morales' opponent is smart here. He doesn't. He plays knight e5. This seems better. He doesn't fall into that like beginner trap of trading pawns for the sake of trading pawns. And now Morales plays c6. And so that move is not obligatory. There's a very, very interesting move here. It looks like it was played by Andrei Zhigalko. There are also some more recent games. The heavily coached Horvat Dominik, who's a Ribley student. Ribley's the only reason why all these Austrian guys are getting good. Knight fd7. That's outside the box, man. You got to really know what you're doing. So you pull the knight off of its developed square so you can embarrass the other knight with c6. That's quite a cool idea. Whoa, what happened? Mr. So just gifted a tier 1 sub to Callaway123 golf fans, Paul 1e4, and Phil the groundhog. And Shakalaka? Whoa, I didn't see Shakalaka as well. That's weird, they're coming in reverse order on my feed. There's 4 gift subs for Mr. Slow. Individual gift subs, individually wrapped for Mr. Slow. So, I've got your game lined up next, if that's cool with you. But Morales didn't know this, and I think it's a subtle move. I would have played knight on bd7 if it was me. And there is one game here where black lost. Knight bd7 seems quite natural. But Morales played c6 right away. This move seems okay, but we're still leaving our queenside relatively undeveloped. Takes, check, castles, and now black played bishop f5, which is a very provocative move. It doesn't really feel like white should have an advantage here, you know? I don't know. I mean, I think knight d7 is by far the most natural, and that's what black played in the one game. Thank you, Mr. Slow, for gift subs. It's a shorty anyway. Oh, the game is a shorty. What is that? I got a message from Astbate. Chess Mastery. It's a quote. So Morales, with this typical shit he does, he's like provoking people with bishop f5. So I joke that Morales plays every game. Paul got a gift sub as well. Thanks, Mr. Slow. Morales every game. He often plays like it's the. I joke that he turns every opening into the Budapest Gambit. He's very big on his strong point, you know, and very big on the e5 square from both colors. But I have to admit, like, bishop f5 wouldn't have been a move that really would have hit my radar. Yeah, I'm too dogmatic about. You know, if the knight goes, where's it going? This is a slight problem. Where's it going? It's got nowhere to go. There's no c5. There's no f6. There's no f8. If I were black, I guess I would play knight d7 and then try to let's say re-coordinate myself, reorientate myself. We need this to stay defended. There's a game here. White played d5, grabbing space. Players I have literally never heard of. My God, they might be correspondents. It's probably a correspondence game. Let me just see. ICCF. No. Okay, I don't know these guys because they're young Cuban players. Wow. So this is actually a game from the 59th Cuban Championship, 2023. This Perez Leiva, I've heard the name Leiva before, but there's like Hector, probably a different guy. Anyway, d5 grabbing space, interesting. So bishop f5 tn. I would imagine the dude's move probably still makes sense here. However, maybe Morales is on something here with this bishop f5. Because at that point, we could play... I mean, you could play it anyway, but you could play e4. If you want to make the game a little more combative, you can play e4. But I wonder what would have happened in this game, knight d7, d5, if black had played e4, for example. I think that black needs to be combative. Oh, that did happen. Wow. And white played f3. So that thing got kind of sharp there. Interesting game. But Morales with bishop f5. Okay, new move. And now f4, which is really radical. You know, so now f4 if e4 g4 I don't like. So I would expect the game exchange. White could take with the queen, but I don't know if he should be interested in trading queens. By the way, I don't like f4. f4 looks too weakening. Are we going to lose e4? Are we going to lose the open file? You know, f4 looks wrong. Takes. Now white could take with the pawn, but he takes with the queen. And now Morales doesn't trade on white's terms, but plays knight d7, which is a developing move, which looks good. But the only move that bothers me is like g4. That seems unsound. In that case, we even possibly queen g6. You know, crazy stuff could happen. Like for example, g4. Just for example, g4, queen g6, rook f2, bishop takes g4, rook g2. So, I mean, g4 may not be that insane. But okay, pawn takes pawn, queen takes, knight d7, queen f6. This is better for black now. Now you have this, and the threat of coming in here, plus the e4 square. We have a backward pawn, but it's not as bad as white's issues with this square, this square, this square. White has so many problems. Black not as much. Bishop d2. And now rook a d8. But I think you should be primarily looking here. So black plays rook a d8. It's a blitz game. Want to play d5? Or do you want to just pile up? I think, you know, if it was me, I would play h5, clamp down on g4. Want to make sure g4 doesn't happen. And then hopefully we can double up along the e-file. But nevertheless, this is not a bad move. He just plays d5. And that probably like gives us an equal game. Very safe way to play it. I think it's probably a draw. But now black has the threat of bishop c5, bishop f3, rook d6. This is necessary. This is not the most exciting game ever. Rook c1, and it's most likely a draw. White was a little too rushing to make exchanges, always on black's terms. White just continuously exchanging pieces on black's terms, you know, helping black a little bit every time. And now finally we made an error, allowing rook d7. Check. And then we definitely got to consider taking a draw. But white now believes that maybe he's better. Maybe he is better after this. Threatening e4. So, endgame is a draw. Equal pawns, bishop endgame, although I don't know if I like this pawn fixed on a5. And now Morales exchanges pawns. I'm not sure if he should do that or not. Or at least doesn't have to do it right away. And I don't know where we're going with king c7. Feels like you're going to need your king over on the center and the king side, so this seems like a weird move. Aha. Check. Black's leveraging the threat of a draw here. Oh no. How are we going to get out there? Whoa. So, okay. I don't think you're losing here. But just don't understand what happened the last couple moves. Starting from this endgame, black has to fight for a draw here. I suppose you can exchange on a4, but why exchange right away? And why put the king on c7? I don't know. I think we just have to defend here, and it's probably a draw. But it's unfortunate. Like, we have to play kind of passively. I'm not sure this is a realistic plan of getting the king into a dark square. On the other hand, you know, the king should probably be over here, stopping the enemy from making progress on the other side. The g5 is just crazy. Now black might well be losing. Yeah. So, e6 looks kind of problematic. Yeah. Alright, Morales. Not necessary to lose that endgame. Next, Mr. Slow, are you up for this Spielman game? Are we ready? Our feature presentation. 100-year-old masterpiece. Thank you for the gift subs, Mr. Slow. Again, Shakalaka, Phil, Callaway, and Paul. That game just an example of a blitz game and why I hate blitz. This endgame is just it should be a draw. I mean, this is crazy. But what did we do wrong here? Something happened. We lost control of the D file. But under no circumstances should black have lost this ending. This was weird. Right here, your play starts to get weird. You shouldn't lose control of the D file. I mean, even if he gets in say e4, it's not the end of the world, I guess. Losing the open file was pretty significant there. All right, Rudolf Spielman against Alexander Flamberg. Flambergers. Well, they've been fooling the Teslas with those billboards on the road. Tesla can't tell when it's like a painted, you know, it's a wall, but it's like painted. The other thing is, I heard that Elon Musk like pays people to up level his video game accounts. He was like, anyway, I'm not gonna get started. Let's go. Tesla. Alexander Flamberg, born 1880 and lived until 1926. That's not a very long time. Just 46. He was a Polish chess master, passed away in 26. He was, wow, he passed away the year my dad was 1 year old. All right. E4. Mr. Coffee's here. You made it. Tesla mobile home. Oh no. The panels are falling off. All right. So we're white against Alexander Flamberg, Polish chess master. E4, E5, knight C3. Spielman liked the knight C3, knight F6, and now F4. So Vienna Gambit. I get confused whether this is the Vienna Gambit or against knight C6. There's Vienna Game and Vienna Gambit. And there's Vienna Gambit. Right, Astbate? You remember. See, watch this. So do knight c6 and then f4. So that's called Vienna Gambit with max Lang defense. Something's not right here. So this is also Vienna Gambit. And that's also, so how can they both be Vienna Gambit? Okay, whatever, it's confusing. F4, D5 the best move, the only good move for black here. This is literally the only good move for black. Chess isn't fair. You only got one good move in this position. D5. And pawn takes pawn on D5 here is like a weird king's gambit. So white also has only one good move. Chess is easy. Chess is forced. Knight takes E4. Now we have a choice, right? The trendy move for a while there was Queen F3. But I think that's out of fashion now. People kind of realized something special. I had a game where someone played D3 against me. I think that was Snedsteg or someone on the stream, or Shaki. Someone played D3 against me. This is supposed to be bad. But you have to know to take and play D4 right away. And even that's not that simple. Maybe not that simple. And then knight takes C4 isn't good. Possibly playable. Knight F3 is standard. This is, and now the move that's popular these days is Bishop C5. This has become like the main line. And I would wager that wasn't the case in, when was this game played? This was played in 1914, World War I, baby. 1914. No, Bishop C5 was probably like not known as a main line. The move looks like it looks like it loses a tempo. Just allowing white to play, encouraging white to play D4 with tempo. So Bishop G4 was played instead. And now white has the move Queen E2. So this Bishop G4 is not commonly played. There's also the very solid bishop e7, which I'm sure that's always been a move, no doubt. By the way, what's the deal with this? Bishop c5, queen e2 here. This is important. If bishop c5, queen e2 here, like these things are often kind of not that good. Bishop f2 check, king d1. Knight takes c3, d takes c3, and the bishop has to lose time. White loses the right to castle. That's another possibility, leading to a very imbalanced play. But the main move is d4. All right. So bishop g4, queen e2, enabling castling queenside, putting pressure most importantly on the e4 knight. So this forces black to do something. Apparently, there are a couple of games where black played knight to c6 here, which I'm trying to grasp this. How does that work exactly? How does this work? It's something about knight to d4. Knight takes e4, knight d4. Can we take a look at this for a second? If I play knight c6, white plays knight takes e4, and black has this weird in-between move, knight d4. This Oscar de la Riva, I didn't know he was big on the Vienna game. The guy from Andorra. Queen d3. This is some kind of gambit. Clearly this is not necessarily good enough for black. Alright, anyway, black plays knight to c5. And now look, there's only 2 games in the opening Explorer. I mean, this game is 110 years old. 111 years old. And, you know, there are not many games in this opening Explorer from before 1960, but still, there's literally only 2 games where this has happened. As I say to people all the time, like, bishop g4 in the double king pawn openings is almost always bad. This position might be a slight exception. It's kind of like an open Roy Lopez. Normally, it's bad because it's like your good bishop, but here the pawn structure has shifted. Normally, black has an e5 pawn in the double king pawn openings, but here it's shifted to a d5 pawn. So because of that, I think that in the open Roy Lopez and other lines where you have a d5 pawn, bishop g4 starts to make some sense. It's actually not his good bishop. It's now like black's bad bishop, so to speak. The other bishop becoming the good bishop because the pawn structure shifted to a dark square based, or rather a light square based pawn chain. So this rule gets thrown out the window. Not necessarily a bad bishop. I mean, not necessarily a good bishop. Knight c5 and now d4. Gotta ask yourself, what is black doing here? Bishop takes f3 is what he's doing. So can we go back a second? So bishop g4, queen e2. So the main move is knight takes c3, obviously. Anand Dorfman, Westereen and Svein Johannesson, 1973. I was 1 year old. Stefan Juric. After knight takes c3, d takes c3. What now? Knight c6. Black is undefeated in this line. No, black lost. On Drake and Hammer. That must be a transposition. But that makes way more sense. You know, this is clearly the way that black should play it. Knight c5 loses too much time, and I think the problem is, what are you going to do? You're going to put your knight on e6? This thing takes forever. So he goes bishop takes f3. And so now it's going to be a check on h4. We're going to get our pawn back at d4. Check. Oh no. Guys, do you think... What's up? These tricks. Do you think that maybe Flamberg was expecting g3 here. Is it possible he was expecting g3 and then he would play queen takes d4? Is that... does that even work? I think it does. Because now e5 is hanging as well. I wonder if he wasn't expecting this. Like, check, g3 takes, queen takes d5, sorry, queen takes d5, queen takes d5, knight takes d5, and maybe white is better, but is it that bad? Black's play looks like waving red flag. I'm thinking he maybe like underestimated queen f2. Or just straight up missed it. But he's also thinking that maybe trading queens against Spielman might be a good idea. Oh, the game was... oh my god, the game went g3. Holy shit. So this other game here, Thomas Robertson, Vojta, went queen f2. White went on to win the game. I mean, my point is, like, I think white is better here. You know, I think that this looks good for white. You got the two bishops. Knight e6 is like forced. Bishop e3, c6, and white is only slightly better. Slightly better. Two bishops, slightly better. Imbalanced pawn structure. But, you know, g3 is more Spielman style. Okay. Queen takes d4. And see, here again, I think, you know, you're right. I mean, it's a risky line to go into against Rudolph. First of all, he probably saw that in an endgame, which is just a little passive for black, but not so bad. And secondly, the next thing that I think is, like, you miss this. Because we're expecting another queen exchange. You're playing an attacking player. You're hoping to trade queens. Here's another line where black could have gotten a queen exchange. And as I said, maybe he's worse, but he's hanging on. For example, knight e6, bishop h3, knight a6, black, you know, stays alive, even if he's slightly worse. There are two ways that Spielman could have traded queens. He avoids them both and finds this move. And I honestly, I just dismissed this. I thought, oh shit, e5's hanging. So I wonder if Flamberg wasn't thinking the same thing. Like, oh, he can't play bishop e3. The e5 pawn's hanging. But never underestimate the ability of Rudolf Spielman to sacrifice material. So what does he do? A second pawn sack. Black underestimated the second pawn sack. He was counting on a trade of queens. And now, I don't know if there's any other option, but you're going to have to consider everything. We have to consider the possibility of queen b4. What about queen b4? Stopping knight takes d5. What do you think, Mr. Slow? How strong is white's attack after the natural castle and c6? Are we sacking a knight on d5? Is there anything there? Can we just check this quickly? Knight takes d5, pawn d5, queen d5. Are you threatening me? Black has bishop e7. You have another line? Apparently this is good enough. White is better. The black is hanging on after bishop e7. White has compensation for the sacrificed piece. So you're saying about bishop e5 check? Sorry about my mouse, guys. Luckily I'm not playing rated games today. So check c6. And castle. Castle kingside or castle queenside? Castle kingside. Threatening f7. That looks scary. Mr. Slow has presumably looked at this more than I have. And this is another rather dangerous line. Okay. So queen b4 is not so good. He has to take, and now castles queenside. And now, yeah, not enough development. Black needs to get his king out of the center now. Not in 2 moves. Not in 3 moves. Within like 1 move, he needs to get his king out of the center because bad things are about to happen. Yeah, I mean, never should have done this. Yeah, he made several oversights. Queen h4 check, maybe assuming queen f2 would be played. That's materialistic thinking. What's up, Nefidov? Yeah, bishop b5. Exactly. Overlooking, this first, and then overlooking 2 pawn sacrifices. Black thinking materialistically, and then oofed. You kind of gotta wonder if this isn't... God damn, this mouse. You gotta wonder if this isn't even a possibility here. I'd be pretty surprised if bishop b5 isn't a viable option as well. Just a cold... Bishop b5 cold turkey. Damn, it wins. Cold turkey bishop b5 wins. That's how strong white's position is. This is totally Astbate move. You would find that Astbate. You love to stick your bishops on b5. This wins. Even bishop b5 wins. So we got instead the fancy sacrifice. Knight takes d5. And that king is just way too open. Nice game. And a little queen sacrifice. Because if queen takes f3, check. Check. And mate. Alright, Mr. So that was a miniature today. Thanks. I had a rough week. Getting ready to file my income taxes. Ugh. I just keep hoping that Donald Trump fired everyone from the IRS. So there's no one to no one to come after me if I mess up my taxes or something. That's the whole idea, right? I'm just not rich enough. If I was a billionaire, I have nothing to worry about. All right, guys. Next game. Thanks, Mr. Slow. We got Morales, Mr. Slow, Sun Prism. I'm going to wait and hope that Sun Prism shows up if he's not here already. It's time for Astbate, your favorite game of the week, guys. What's up? Mr. Slow with 4 gift subs. Astbate with a resub. Oh, come on, guys. We got a follow from Pishkevet. Thank you guys for following along. This is only for those of you who are serious about chess. If you're interested in bullet chess, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for a game, you're in the wrong place. I'm not here to play today. Next opponent is Peartz, slightly stronger. Peartz, I would have assumed is younger than Rudolf Spielman, but I could be wrong. All right. Peartz from Slovenia. Vasya. All right, we got Astbate, Rouslan Bear. So Rouslan Bear is opponent that's fast and bad, but sometimes not as bad as others. He can really kind of hug you. Now Bear's hug. He's like a boxer who goes like 15 rounds by just like hugging you. it's hard to kill him sometimes. So Astbate playing knight f3, d5, b3, reversed or accelerated Queen's Indian attack. Black playing c5. So this, for me, doesn't make sense. And this is the perfect reason. He played an IM, whose profile says he played against Grunfeld. No, but I mean, profile. What kind of profile? Like on Snapchat or Tinder? You do realize that there's more than one Grunfeld. There's also the Israeli Grandmaster Yehuda Grunfeld, who is like, 65 years old or something. No, don't forget. But maybe he meant the old Grunfeld. I don't know. Anyway. Well, I mean, Yehuda Grunfeld is like 60 something. He's old. All right, b3, c5. So what I'm going to say is, why would somebody like Rouslan, who's an e4 player, are you ready? Why is an e4 player playing a d4 opening with colors reversed? You played a guy who played in the Simul against Capablanca. I played Arnold Denker. This is a bad opening choice by Rouslan. He doesn't play d4. So why is he playing it like a tempo down with black? But Astbate, bro, what did you do? Guys, check out what Astbate did here. He played d4. That's like not a move. Nobody plays that. Dude, your pawn's not supported. That's really psycho. It's the hyper accelerated Queen's Indian. So if he takes on d4, if you take, either way, you're going to have to retreat. You shouldn't do this until he's played knight c6 or something. This is too early. And then Rouslan doesn't exploit it. He has to take. Monsterev. No. Monasterev. Like monastery. Monsterov played c takes d. It's like a Marshall Gambit. But b3 doesn't help us that much here. Yeah, Astbate, this is too provocative. You got lucky here. He played e6, which is lame. e6 is safe. And now you should make a sensible move, which would be e3. It's basically white's only good move. I mean, it's funny. I think you could probably make a case for bishop e2 not being that bad now. You're still going to lose a tempo, though. If you go bishop e2, he takes the pawn. You're going to take, he's going to go knight c6, and you're going to have to bring the bishop back to b2. You basically just lose a tempo, and now you're black. Or maybe worse than black. But anyway, remember not to do d4. Either his knight is on c6, unless either his knight is on c6, or you have a pawn backing it up, Astbate. So e6, c4. Okay. So he should just chop your center. He does. And now, yeah, you have a problem. You could consider playing pawn takes pawn, I guess. This seems like the most sensible move. And now he wins a tempo with knight c6. And now the question is, where do you go? Ay, caramba. I'm thinking, man, that's a tough one. We already have problems. There is no good square. b2, queen b2, bishop b4 loses. I mean, queen d2 loses. Your best bet is probably to play queen d1. You're in a very bad position here, but you played the bizarre queen b2. Okay, You know what? It's not good. So what about bishop e7? Rouslan is not, he's not really like, you know, not a bad player, but not Mr. Creative. So I think if we look at this position from Black's perspective, if you want to exploit White, you got to come up with bishop e7. And you're going to call him on the diagonal. How do you answer that? You played Bill Gates and Jim Kirk in the same tournament. That's awesome. But if you played Leonard Nimoy and Jim Kirk in the same, what is Mr. Spock's first name? They just don't have first, like Vulcans just don't have first names. On this, you have Queen takes G7. This is my mouse. Queen takes G7, Bishop F6. You lose a whole rook there. Just saying. So you're going to be in trouble, man, after Bishop E7. You have to play something really weird like E3, Bishop F6, Knight C3, and start saying your prayers that you're okay here. This would have been awkward. But Rouslan plays Knight F6, not trying to exploit you. He doesn't care about that. He's playing too fast to try to exploit the opponent's mistakes. But Astbate is completely out of his normal zone here. What is he even doing? All right, Bishop D2 guarding. This is a defensive move. Bishop D6, a good move. Knight C3, and then Black doesn't need to do this. He goes D4. However, it might even be a good move. After Knight B5, you're triple attacking D4, so Black has to play E5. If Spock had a first name, they wouldn't just call him Spock. So Knight B5, E5. Maybe Spock is his first name, but he's Mr. Spock, see? Because he's Mr. Spock, Spock can't be his first name. You get it. It's implied. Rouslan doesn't like E5. He has to play E5. Bishop B8. Oops, I lost a pawn. Astbate, you didn't take it. This is like a free gift. You get it's like a gift box. It's opening day. Baseball. Yeah. All right. So knight on B takes D4. Why didn't you do that? You give him another chance with E5. Oh my god. And now just completely random move. Don't play E3. Don't play E3 and try to attack his center or anything. Just play E4. Drop your central pawn. He takes it. He loves material. Bishop C4. And now knight takes D2. Queen takes D2. Black is winning. He's a clear pawn up. Winning, I mean relatively winning. Clear pawn up. Castles. And then Astbate with the knight G5. Threatening nothing. You are threatening nothing for now. So what would you do if you're Black here? I have a suggestion, but it probably doesn't work. I was going to say E4. I think E4 fails to knight takes E4. Black should just play A6 or something. He does H6. All right, H4. This is coffee house, but it might just work. Spirited move H4. So if Black takes, then the H file becomes a very dangerous line. With the bishop on C4 guarding the F pawn, it's still not obvious how White gets in there. I guess G6. Whoa! There was an episode where a first name was referred to. The claim is that it's unpronounceable to humans. Sitchin Tigal Spock. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Oh, that's weird. So, H6, H4. He doesn't take the knight, plays A6. And now I feel a cheapo coming on. Now I can see black blundering here and playing like G6 and be like, oh shit, queen takes G6 check. The best move for black is E4. Sadly, E4 doesn't work either. Because of rook E8, bishop takes S7 check. It's rather unfortunate. So black is in trouble, legit trouble. He has to take the knight. When he takes back now, he's threatening the mate again. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. And you don't have queen H3. So Rouslan Bear did blunder it. Why not queen D3 instead of G6? Instead of G6? Say what? What you talking about, Nefidov? Castles, knight G5. Yeah, E4. Yeah, Mr. Slow saw it. He had E4. That was the move I was trying to play before. E4 works now. Oh no. Oh no. And this is a problem too. The problem is, Astbate, you can't get away with this like Greek gift type of themes with your queen on D2. If your queen was on D1, it would have been better. You would have had queen H5 all the time. Because your queen was on D2, you never had that queen H5 thing. You really need that here. Now you have no way to get your queen over there. You can't get there. You can't get to H5. So your only move is like queen G3, threatening queen H4. Maybe this is not a joke, though. That loses a queen. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, I didn't even see it. Oh, baby. All right, no. Yeah, this is a problem. That's a problem. Oh, no. And so queen takes E4, rook E8. Wait a second. Bishop takes a 7 check. I love my mouse. I'm going to get a new one. We got extra donation for an extra mouse from you guys, so don't forget. End of the game. And that's the end of the road for Astbate. If Rouslan Bear found the right line, but he blundered with G6. He has E4, right? E4 is winning. E4 is winning, and if our best move, yeah, is queen D1. This is a problem. It covers all the entry points on the H file. So Astbate got real lucky there. Very lucky. That was not a great game. You caught the bear sleeping. He was in hibernation. All right, guys. I got Sung Prism, Mule Skinner, Nefidov with the revenge game. Revenge! Wiener 10. All right, let's do Sung Prism. Oh, there's no game in there. Oh, that's not right. Oh, maybe I didn't put the game. I just did it as a reminder. To remind myself to put the game. Sometimes I do that. That's weird. Game for Thursday. It was the first one. Game for Thursday. First round of my classical tournament. Okay, he was black against 1701. All right. View on Lichess. Page not found. Oh, snap. All right, get PGN. You're black in 1701. We got it. We got it. We got it. Hello. I'm having a little trouble copy and pasting. Add a new chapter. All right, let's delete the other one. And then put this up here. So he's black. Rubinstein opening. Nettie. Nettie or Net-Eye? It's hot, guys. It's almost summer. My room, it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the hottest it's been at night. I can't wait for some good ambulances. Stuffy in here. But it is a good thing we got new windows. Anyway, at least when it rains, it doesn't like rain in my room anymore. Alright, so this is the plan. What? Knight on GE4, D6, castle short. Right, Astbate? Right. That's from Mr. Slow. What's up, guys? Welcome, Net-Eye. Welcome, everybody. So, don't forget to subscribe. And we got a follow from Pishkivat. We're analyzing viewer games here, subscriber games, I should say. Not just any viewer, but people who are subscribers. This is from the non-present Sung Prism, who scored 4 out of 5, according to our sources, in his classical tournament. So he's black. White plays d4, and I'm a little surprised. That's what he said, right? Is it too late to submit game, Shaki? I'll make an exception only for you. I'm confused here. So Sung Prism, he said, first round of over the board classical game, I'm black against 1701. Okay, damn it, I closed the window. Hello. Sorry, guys. Does that work? Are we back? Yeah. What I don't understand is that I thought Sun Prism was playing the Nimzo, and he doesn't. You need an investigation. Oh! Investigating. Shaki, an investigation. Well, that costs extra. Investigations are very expansive. Might want to put it in a signal chat. All right, I got it in there. Ooh, 2520. Conspiracy theories are a dime a dozen. Just say. All right. Wrong game, sorry. We're doing chapter 4. So I don't understand. I thought he played the Nimzo. Where's this coming from? So d4, knight f6, knight f3, and now he played d5. But if you play Nimzo, maybe he doesn't play Queen's Indian. I guess he's played Queen's Gambits. Come to think of it. We've had Queen's Gambits. Okay. So he plays a Queen's Gambit type setup with d5. Whoa. Where's my stream? Is my stream still here? We're still here. We had a black screen for a minute there. Anyway, e3. I like how it's called Rubinstein opening. Bro, nobody calls this the Rubinstein opening. Fuck's sake. It's called the Koltanowski attack. That's ridiculous, man. I mean, Rubinstein played this among many things. People don't call it the Rubinstein opening. There's already like 2 names. You could even call it the Zukertort Koltanowski Coley attack. And now they want to call it the Rubinstein opening. Rubinstein already has like 6 different lines like named after him. He doesn't need any more openings named after him. DO5 Rubinstein opening. I don't think so. Is that like a Reddit ECO or something? E3, and now black plays E6. Well, you got to count on white possibly transposing to a queen's gambit with C4. You don't know he's going to keep it closed. Now bishop D3, and then now black has choices. I don't know what you wanna do. C5, of course, is like main move. The alternatives, B6 and bishop E7. I think when you do B6, the kind of idea is to do control of E4. So you can cross white's plans and drop a knight in on E4. Bishop E7 is just kind of a waiting move, but rather passive. You know, C5 is absolutely the main move for black here. I suppose you can also do knight on BD7. Mr. Coffee's a resident expert. So C5, and now B3. B3 is not forced. You could also castle, but I know everyone is like definitely afraid of C4. It's actually not clearly good for black. If time, can you please have a look at my game with Rubinstein from Tuesday, Mr. Slow. Study. Time permitting. Mr. Slow. Practically a VIP. All right, here we go. Back to game 4. Anyway, so my point was, Mr. Coffee and I have talked about this, but people with white are usually afraid to castle because of C4. But the thing is, like, this can backfire. I think I looked at this with George, with Mr. Coffee, bishop E2, this Kramnik-Giri, because white will fire back if you try to support that pawn on C4. It's not necessarily advantageous to black to play C4. So B3 isn't forced, but it is standard move. So then white has to be careful about this this move order, because I think that black has typically 2 plans: playing E5 and playing the knight to B4 and attacking the C2 pawn. If I remember correctly, I had a blindfold game against Superdriver. It was a Zukertort Coley Koltanowski where I was white. We had our blindfold match, circa 1995, with Uberdriver at the Boylston Chess Club, which was drawn. It was like 4 draws or something. I know how much Uberdriver likes draws. Well, I didn't know him that well back then, but he agreed to play a match against me where he was sighted and I was blindfolded. And it's so vague now, you know. It's so weird that I did that. Anyway, I don't remember what the deal was. Like, we just did it for fun, or maybe we got Harry Lyman. Was Harry Lyman still alive to sponsor this match? The sponsorship. A3, and now C takes D4. So Rubinstein did play this line with white, and he did have games where he criticized his opponents for playing C takes D4 too early. Because, like, at the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself, like, what does this do for black? Zukertort actually was very good at relocating his bishop from B2 to this diagonal when need be later. I've been looking at some Zukertort games recently with one of my students. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, what's the benefit of exchanging? Well, if you exchange on d4, white can't take on c5. I guess that's the benefit of exchanging. White's bishop's not even on b2 yet. I mean, is he going to take so you can take on c5 with tempo? So I get the point. Like, you exchange because you figure if I go here, white can take here. Still, does he really want to give up his center? Just so his bishop can be open? It's not a no-brainer, So I'm just saying, like, black should think twice about this exchange on d4. I don't think that this is necessarily the right move. I'm sure it's not the main line. But strangely, the move b6 has a good score. Astbate, no spoilers. C takes d4, e takes d4. And now bishop d6. And now we're threatening e5. That's serious. Stefanova Zhukova. Ugh. All right. But I mean, maybe white is happy that that bishop opened up and you exchange pawns there. I guess there may be a case to be made that, like, exchanging pawns before white puts his bishop on b2 is kind of weird. Now maybe white never moves his bishop to b2 at all, depending on the circumstances. White just does it anyway. There's 5 games here at master level, and only one player played bishop b2. Castles is like universal. When are you not going to castle in this type of position? Like Call Zook versus Tarda, Queen's Gambit. Well, that's the names, Yeah, Kali Zukator. It's the Kali Zukator and Koltanowski. And then Tartakover with black, exactly. It's like you have the Tartakover with black a tempo up. But anyway, bishop b2. b6 now. So the sharpest move would be queen c7, threatening to play e5, but you're still not going to get it in. So maybe this is better. Philip Haring, this Slovakian kid that was on my team, he's up to 2452. Jesus. Castles, bishop b7. Now, there are some ideas here. I call it radioactive bishops. Both sides have this sort of radioactivity where their bishops influence the position through the pawn. We call those bad bishops, but they're not completely bad. Those bishops have the possibility of it opening up. Plus, they do influence the center through the pawn. But in this case, our knight's in the way. So oftentimes, what we're going to need to do here for some Prism is to bring the knight back to e7. This is a standard plan. And one advantage of him putting his bishop on d6 rather than e7 is that he leaves that square free for the knight. I tried to do this with white. I lost a horrible game last month. Röntgen, right, Mr. Slow? Röntgen? They like that word here too. Hungarians don't have their own word for X-ray, so they call it Röntgen. Bishop b7, knight on bd2, and now rook c8. I'm not a huge lover of rook c8. Doesn't seem like a big priority. It's interesting that nobody played knight e7, but I guess inherently knight e7 is very passive. Plus there's bishop c6 check. So most commonly here, black castles. The thing is, after knight e5, what are you going to do about that knight? It's not so easy to get rid of. See, number 1 move, knight e7. Survey says, number 1 move, knight e7. And then what's the plan? Well, you've got the Röntgen. Preventing Röntgen. Now rook c8. Now if f4, the e4 square is squishy. We can play rook c7, this Karpovian idea further x-raying the e4 square. But the scary thing is, like, how do you get the knight off of e5? In order to get the knight off of e5, you have to play knight e4 or move the knight somewhere. Americans don't have a word for ananas, and they call it pineapple. What? But they do have a word for it. It's called pineapple. That's different. What do you mean, Nefidov? Oh my god. What a noob. Dude, pineapple is the word. What kind of comment is that? That is a funny thing to say. Ananas is not a pineapple. What do you mean? It is. Of course it is. Hungarians call it ananas too. What else would it be if it's not a pineapple? Okay, so basically, yeah, he played this. He didn't know the 97 idea. So here we go, 97. And if you don't know this idea, you could get in trouble. And it looks like that's what happened here. Sun Prism wasn't aware of the, I don't know what to call this, the bucket list. The power of the X-ray. So white plays queen e2. We're going to transpose to that position I was just looking at. So poor Sun Prism played knight d7. Now he's walking into, like, he's walking right into bishop takes h7 land now, man. Kosic. I mean, bro. We're looking, study Rubinstein's games and you understand why this variation Lichess is claiming is called the Rubinstein system. This looks like straight out of one of Rubinstein's games. But 97 is not the way to go. So 97, first of all, you have stuff like knight f5. This is how I lost against Misler. Exact same position with colors reversed. I'm playing like Sun Prism with white, and I wasted time with the stupid move bishop b1 at one point. Because Astbate was, like, in my mind, influencing me to do bishop b1 all the time. I thought I could get away with it. But this was really, really just unnecessary. In fact, if I go back to b8, sometimes I can go a4, like stick their bishop on a3 on this diagonal. That's where you got me in trouble there. I was like, oh, the Astbate plan, bishop b8. No, I wanted to put my knight on f5. See, bishop b8, the idea is knight f5, knight d6. We can go here, followed by knight d6, and then drop in on e4. Ultimately, if we had enough time, that would be the plan. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, because this knight goes to f5 and to d6. Black could control e4 with four pieces and pawns, 4 units of attack. But in the meantime, white has ways to cross your plans. What if white, for example, goes like g4 or something? Now then all bets are off. I'm dropping in. I'm coming into e4. So he has to play, first of all, he has to play queen e2 to stop you from going to e4. Now you can see bishop e8 has been played. Jababa, Sladgie. But rook c7, the Karpovian defensive move, is the most common. This also doesn't hurt to have lateral defenses here. You came on because I saw the panda. Now I like the lessons. All right. Come for the panda, stay for the chess. That's what I would say. So 97, big mistake. What are we threatening? Guess what? We got a big problem. Knight takes e5 doesn't help because it just opens the f file and we're going to get attacked. If white trades on d7, we're like, yes, everything's okay, but that's not going to happen. And he has attack against h7. So if you ever try to play f6, it's like, you're done. You're going to get crushed. The only thing you can do is what happened in the game, which is what happened in some of Rubinstein's games. This specific, like, queen h5, f5. That's the only... This is literally the only way that black can defend. So my only question would be, is queen h5 the right move here for white? Or is there a better way for white to play? Well, you never know. Like, sometimes c4 can be played. I mean, sometimes queen f3. Sometimes, and then there's the Jabava, like rook f3. We saw that. Yusupov. I'm getting my J's mixed up, sorry. Queen f3, rook f3, queen e2. So I was thinking, what about this pawn? Yeah, queen e2 has the advantage of putting pressure indirectly on e6, which means, like, moving the f pawn could be kind of dangerous. So I agree. I think that queen e2 is probably right. So this doesn't really help white here. And now it's kind of blocked, so you need a break. G4, C4. Give me a break. All right, what are you going to do? Rook F3. And black's timed this so he has knight F6 coming now. So it's like a double stonewall. Now the position is going to be so blocked, it's very hard to make progress. I think this is a typical mistake where you get the redundant knights. That knight's job is typically to guard the e4 square. So if I were white, I'd be more likely to play something like that, but you got to watch your a pawn. If I play queen e7, what about that pawn? I don't know. But black's main plan is to play knight f6 anyway. I don't think rook e1 is so good. But what should white do now? g4. You can go forward with g4. Then if knight f6, I guess queen h3. But black can just sit tight. Maybe knight e4. I still think that white might be a tiny bit better. Peter thinks black's better already. Okay. So queen h5 was a mistake. Queen e2 is the best move now. He doesn't do that. He plays this move, doesn't do anything. Knight f6, queen h4. White has really no threats right here. Threatening e6. No big deal. I think this might be a good move at this point. Like rook c7. Defending laterally. But okay, queen exchange, and we're out of the woods on the way to grandmother's house now. The problem is, honestly, the position is so blocked. I think it might be better to just offer a draw here. Is either side really better? Difficult to say. You know, I'm getting a headache from looking at this position. But I do think that black has chances along the c-file. Speaking of Kosic, my friend Dragan, the GM from Serbia and Montenegro, he had a nice game, which I showed Mr. Coffee once, where he like sacked an exchange. I mean, you know, if you doubled your rooks on the c-file and did like rook takes c2, just imagine for a second that could be achieved. You could have like a very strong sort of exchange sacrifice for a pawn here. That's a kind of concrete plan. White will probably not allow it, but it's possible he might. The other thing is that minority attack, like b5. Another plan for black would be to trade white's good bishop off. So after this, let's say we do it the other way. White makes a routine move. Can we play knight b8 with the idea of bishop a6 to trade off our bad bishop? I mean, this is a good plan. Strategic plans. So anyway, knight takes c6 is okay. I mean, he has redundant knights anyway. Bishop takes, knight e5, bishop e7. Now, you do need to seriously consider bishop e8 here. As a French player, which Sung Prism is, you've got to admit that this bishop has pretty good range. That's the other reason why, honestly, I liked our other recapture here. I mean, this sounds like sort of after the fact, but it makes you wonder, wouldn't this be better? To have the bishop here, have the rooks clear, and then play down the c-file. And as I said, white will probably play like c4 at some point. But still, we can build up our rooks along this file here. So I don't know. French defense player, bishop b7. It's a tough call though, Mr. Slow. It's a tough call. This is not easy. I don't know. This may be right, but you definitely have to consider this. Another move that has to be considered. Well, another move that has to be considered is taking the thing. You know, with your good bishop. I mean, I would think white extends. This is unclear. You know, the knight on e5 is so strong. You got to consider taking it. You could also consider going here and giving up your bad bishop for it. You know, does white even want to do that? You know, so there's a lot of possibilities in such a closed position. But after knight e5, we have bishop e7 and bishop takes e4. Now the problem with this, it's not the same as black taking on e5. It's also giving up your good bishop for a powerfully posted knight. But the difference is there's a pawn on e6. If I play bishop takes e5, you don't have a protected passed pawn. Here I do. You know, this is a protected passed pawn. This is also a protected passed pawn. And in a king and pawning game, white might be lost. So remember, if there was a pawn here on e3, this is a different scenario. Yeah. So this is not the same thing. This is a very big compromise by white. And I don't know which way to take, but I am very slightly concerned about this square. I don't think it's a big deal, though. If he gets access to this square, you know, we have bishop a6. I don't know which way to take. I mean, this way extends our bishop one more square. This way our bishop stays blocked, but you get pressure against f4. You could say you're taking toward the center. I mean, this bishop could still appear on a6. It's a tough call. I think both recaptures are okay. White plays c4, and now rook c8. I mean, this guy needs to be going to a6 at some point. Black can exchange bishop takes knight and go into opposite color bishops at some point in a scenario where maybe we're more active. You know, it's possible if our bishop's on a6, it's better than the bishop on b2. So white plays c takes e5. This looks like a very, very strange move to me. Undoubling black's pawns. And now you actually could even consider taking with the bishop. He did, but I'm not sure about this. I admit that this is tempting, but I guess the bigger consideration is that we're going to get down on the 7th. Yeah. I think he did the right thing, actually. Because pawn takes, we don't get a rook on the 7th. Do we? You're still threatening it. You're still threatening it. I guess rook f2. But this buys time. Bishop takes d5. Maybe it was a good decision. We're seeing our pawn structure, but guaranteeing rook on the 7th. Now b4, rook c2, rook f2. And now he loses a pawn with check. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, why not go for it with grabbing that pawn? takes, check. You could say, well, maybe white's blockading, but he has no entry points on the C file. So, like king e3, even rook f8, rook c1, you're not threatening to get in here. So, black is much, much better. So, rook f c8, he doesn't win the pawn. You're threatening rook takes f2. So, white had to find a tough move. You're actually threatening the very nasty move here, e3. Yeah, this is like, the more you look at it, the more you realize he made the right decision, taking with his bishop on d5, which makes him look like a genius for playing bishop e7 instead of bishop e8. But honestly, if you go back to this move, you've got to ask yourself, why would white play c takes d? You know, leaving himself with an isolated pawn at d4. I'm sure he was like expecting black to take back with the pawn. But still, I don't see the upside of c takes d. There is no upside. So white just made two very bad positional mistakes. First off, trading for the knight on e4. And then secondly, exchanging on d5 unprovoked. Now, he's in trouble. And this loses because of e3. Presumably. Now, he had a tactic here. The idea is rook c8, check, bishop f8, knight d7. Threatening mate in 1. But now king f7. e3 is a killer. e3 is devastating because it threatens rook b1 mate, among other things. So white has knight e5 check. We move the king. And now black's up a piece. I mean, he's up a piece. You've got to check on c7. Now I have king d8. And now I have huge threats. e3 is basically a forced win. Threatening both mate on the back rank. The pawn itself is very strong. And rook takes g2 check, so it's over. Yeah, it's over. e3's over. So that was very poorly played, sequence from white in that game. Opening leaves a lot of questions. Mule Skinner is next. Do you want to go first, Nefidov? Nefidov's here. We could do Nefidov first. What about Mr. Slow? You have to work? Mr. Slow, are you in a hurry or anything? You want to do your game first? Or are you in for the duration? Play. You can play. We're not playing. We're analyzing these games. We've got a bunch of games. Antonio's here. Oh, Antonio's here. Well, then we'll do Antonio. We did Antonio already. We went without you. Oh, Antonio, we already did your game. I didn't think you were going to show up. You can watch the VOD. VOD pod. You guys have to be subscribers. Submit games, but we're full for today. You could submit a game if you subscribe. If you subscribe, Michelle, you have to be a subscriber. Send me the game on Lichess, and I'll put it in for next week. Like, send me the game on Lichess. Just send me a direct message. Okay. So we did Morales, Flamberg. We did that. Mule Skinner, Nefidov. Oh yeah, Nefidov sung Prism. Mule Skinner is never here, so we can hold his. Let's do Nefidov. Nefidov with white. Nefidov with revenge against Sung Prism. Orban got a zebra. Is getting a zebra from the zoo. Chess zebra. Just so you know. I thought you'd be the first one that should know. It's a big meme in Hungary. because you know the lines on the street are called zebras, the crossing places. But somehow I don't know why, because he has like soldiers in Africa. I don't know the CAR. I don't understand what Orban's. What is Democratic? No, Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Maybe because of like DRC. I don't know. He's getting a zebra. It's just kind of random. He was all excited, and now all the opposition parties are making fun of him. Like, what the fuck is this guy? Why is he getting a zebra? The world is like falling apart, and Viktor Orban is getting a zebra. All right. E4, E6, D4, D5, Knight C3, my own personal zebra. All right, I wonder if anyone's thought of that one yet. I'll have to submit that to a friend of mine. He has a radio show, and he has a band. Maybe he'd like my own personal zebra. I wonder if we'd have to get permission from Depeche Mode for that. Knight C3, Knight F6. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, I mean, we've seen Nefidov face the... That's funny, we've seen Nefidov face the winner a lot. But I don't remember Nefidov playing how he plays against the classical. Okay, so Bishop G5. And everybody's like a wimp here. You know what the problem is? If you're black and you play D takes C, they play Knight takes E4, and all the cowards all play like Knight takes F6 for a draw. It's disgusting. This kid did it at my tournament. You should be like kicked out of like the International Chess Federation if you're so lame as to play this move. Knight takes F6 check, trading pieces. But the real, and this is also a Rubinstein thing, the real line is Bishop takes F6. Well, you just know, you know a lot about openings, apparently. So, Bishop takes F6, G takes F6. Anyway, I think that's black's best. You know, seriously, with black, you gotta play pawn takes pawn, or you know, maybe if you really like are masochistic, you can play the McCutcheon or whatever. Just has a cool name. But I mean, these lines are painful for black. I don't know, man. If I played the French, I'm not playing. There's no way I'm playing this line. It's like kind of thankless for black. It feels like black's always just a little worse and there's no dynamism. Anyway, E5, Knight FD7, and now Nefidov plays the Aliakin Chatard attack. Did we see this game already? Or why is this so familiar to me? I guess Mr. Coffee had a game. Mr. Coffee, are you out there? No. We saw this game. Is this a new one? When was this played? Date 2025, 3/25. So this is new. This is from Tuesday. This is a new one. Oh, wow. So Nefidov played his line again. Oh, no. He played the Nefidov attack again. Second time. The distinctive Queen H5. And now Bishop E7, Queen E7. So, last time I looked at this from black's side. Now I'm looking at it from white's side. Like, G6 is not a move that black necessarily wants to play, right? Because when you play this move and white exchanges bishops, you're trading off your darks for bishop. And oftentimes that's the white's advantage. It's worse, though. It's made worse by the playing of G6. is what I'm saying. Like, in general, this exchange favors white. Bishop takes bishop. That's Pillsbury. It's Steinitz. It's like all these like classic games. You have a dark square pawn chain, and you're trading off black's good bishop with your bad bishop. That's good for white, right? But my point is, like, after queen h5, g6, this makes it worse for black, because after bishop e7, now you've played g6. That means you have less support for f6, and your dark squares are weaker. So there's a lot of ramifications of that in the long run. So I think the same thing happened last time. Queen g4. Mr. Slow was talking about this. Why does Mr. Slow come to mind? I don't know why Mr. Slow is coming to my mind. Does black end up castling long in this line? Sometimes he does. But I'm just wondering about this position. So it seems like the most games are with a6. The a6 is less weakening for black than g6. I just don't want to play g6 with black for no reason, unless I have to. Maybe the problem is, like, if you don't play g6, white could play like bishop d3, and then you can't play g6 because you get splattered by bishop takes g6. It may be a question of, like, if you don't play it now, you never will. But that's not so simple. Like, after bishop d3, c5. Sorry, c5. I should get voice recognition. a6 stops knight b5, yeah. That's a very key idea in these positions. But I just don't know. You see how rare this is? I mean, there's only like 13 games, and I think some of them are correspondence. If not, like, most of them are correspondence games. Has anyone here? Okay. Latinen, Emmanuel Berg has played it twice. Gabuzian. But there's a handful of games, really. This is a very, very rare variation. So it's not clear what black's best move is. I like a6, though. I have a big preference for that. g6 is more forcing. Now bishop takes e7, and now queen g4. And now black can play h5, but again, you're weakening your dark squares. Why do you want to play h5 and weaken your dark squares? Last time we had some discussion about it. Basically, I think it was a6, h5, g5. And then Mr. Slow or somebody was suggesting f4. Well, that's fine, but at least black's pawns are on the right color. We discussed something similar. Right. And so my point is, like, yeah, there's f4 break, but at least his pawn's on h6, which I think is beneficial to black, rather than being on a light square. Okay, it's complicated. You know, it's a very complicated variation. So anyway, in the game, black doesn't play h5. Black plays c5. c5's new. Oh no. So a6 was played. h5 was played. h5 queen f4. But this is a new move. But this allows the scary knight b5. Then black's not going to be castling queenside. I can guarantee black's not going to be castling queenside after this move. So c5 is a dangerous thing to do. Oh no. So we're going to have to play like knight a6? Oh no, he sacks a rook? C takes d4, this is Nigel Short style. C takes d4, knight c7 check, king d8, knight takes a8, queen b4 check, king d1, queen takes b2, rook c1, knight takes e5. Unimpressed. I am unimpressed. I told you guys a couple weeks ago But Short did a similar idea against Adam Hunt, but it was a different line. And, you know, obviously Black has to be very exact about this sort of sacrifice. Here, Black is down a rook for a few pawns, and White's knight is pseudo-trapped. But at the same time, you know, both kings are very endangered in the center. I just don't think that Black has enough here. Yeah. It was too much. Queen f4, knight bd7. That protects the f6 square. That's key. So it was a double threat. You know, White was threatening queen takes knight and queen f6 check. This defends both. But it's still enough. And then a really nasty move from Nefidov, who's clearly out for revenge here. Kamsky sent him this move on a signal chat. Rook h3. That's brutal. That's not even like fair how strong that rook move is. Defense and attack at the same time. The strongest move in chess. I bet Nefidov has used this idea before. That's a really strong resource. If Black's position wasn't lost, it definitely is after rook h3. This is an extremely strong move. b6 now, threatening to trap the knight. White plays knight f3, and now e5 is overloaded. So I was wondering if Black could play d3 at some point. It's kind of total desperation, though. d3 to defend, defend Mr. Knight on e5. Well, what else are you going to do? Well, he just takes. Okay. Now f7 is hanging. Don't forget. Plus this diagonal is open. Rook takes f3. And then, oof. Bishop b7. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but White has queen c7 check and queen takes here. This is definitely a serious possibility. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, what about d3? I mean, it doesn't help enough. We're still lost. At the end of the day, Black's just like down a rook. He's down a rook for what, like 2 pawns or something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After this, he's down a rook for 3 pawns. Down a rook for 2 pawns if I take the pawn on d3. It looks like a reasonable try, though. But after knight takes, now queen f6 check, hits the rook on f8, h8. That's really bad. Yeah, Black's lost. He went, he blundered knight b5 and then tried to go with it. But objectively here, I mean, can Black do anything else? It kind of looks like, you've got to consider other options at this point. I mean, knight a6 needs to be considered. Knight d6 check, yeah, this is horrible. But maybe we can survive, That's got to be better than what happened. The king can try to go to g7 later. This has to be better than what happened. So this sack is unsound. I'm also not even sure, yeah, I guess the king should go to d8 to try to trap the knight, but it's not enough. Yeah, Nefidov's really been brutal lately. Well, he's hanging out with Kamsky, and they drink beer together. What's Kamsky's favorite beer? Ask Nefidov. So what happened finally? You didn't go queen c7 check. He played knight c7. So I think this is lights out. God, my mouse is like ridiculous. Click, click, c7. King moves. Queen takes b7. Dude, there's no way that black has any chance here. You're actually threatening rook takes f7 in this position. So that would have been cleaner, I think. After this, we have a little issue with our knight. So black gets that piece. Suddenly, black's only down the exchange. Feels like Nefidov gave him a little bit of a hope there. And then this is awkward. That's kind of like, well, I'm glad I have a square. Queen a2. Man, that's brutal, Nefidov. That's brutal. And that sets up bishop b5. Now black has rook d8, obviously. This move I'm not crazy about. Takes, check. And d5 is falling. And that pawn is important. That pawn was really kind of key. Still, black's... I have this feeling like c3 is going to happen or something. Rook e8. Oh, no. Rook c3 check. Oh. God, Nefidov. What a game. And then the brutal rook c3. Ooh. Winning the queen at a2. Just when you thought I was safe to get out of the water. And he's like Jaws, man. Nefidov is a shark. Alright, nice game, Nefidov. Very impressive. So then we've got Wand versus Mule Skinner, Power the New, Shaki, and Mr. Slow. We could save Mule Skinner for last. You know, the Power the New, I don't even know who that is. So let's do Shaki and Mr. Slow. Because they're here. Alright, this is Shaki's game. So this is an investigation, apparently. So my first comment is, if that's the name of my opponent, Mahul 1000 SU Mahul, and a 2520, yes, they're probably suspicious. That's just, you know, just a weird name. Very disposable. Alright, e4, c5, knight f3. Funny that Shaki's not playing like the wing gambit or something. Are you alright, dude? You're not playing the wing gambit? You instantly want to trust that name. No wing gambit. Very, very strange. d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3. Oh no, we get the 4 knights, Mr. Slow's favorite. Mr. Slow is like getting bonus. He's getting bonus games today. He's got a personal game, and now there's a 4 knight Sicilian, and there's the Spielman game. So Shaki goes for it with the sharpest, you know, knight takes. You know, interestingly, Mr. Slow, the other day I found an interesting Velimirovich game. Velimirovich played bishop g5 against Vukic. This is a weird move. All right. Anyway, knight takes c6, b takes c6, e5, knight d5, knight e4. And so, most commonly, black plays queen c7 to attack e5 and induce white to weaken himself by playing f4. Also possible is bishop b7. And I think, like, that's kind of a subtle... Rook b8 usually comes later. Your queen c7, rook b8 is on the line. Bishop b7 is subtle, where there's ideas where that bishop would somehow get into the game. But the following move is, I think, an old move. This is like old school. But I mean, I don't know the history of it, but I'm thinking like this is the kind of move that was probably played like initially, like, I don't know, whenever 100 years ago or something. Whenever they first played this variation, F5 is the most obvious move. It's very forcing, you know. So if pawn takes F6, black has to take with the knight, but how bad is it? Well, pawn takes F6, and then you play knight d6 check, right? That's it. You just take on F6, knight takes F6, and knight d6 check, and you're just better, right? I mean, that's it. There's nothing fancy. This is just simple. Yeah, you just take, and you did exactly what you're supposed to do. Knight takes F6, yeah, and after knight d6 check, white is just better. So see, there's a game here, Natov Satovsky, 2004. Hodliefman versus Yuri Yakovich. I mean, dude, like, it's hard to believe that Yuri Yakovich would like not know this was bad for black, but you know, like Ulf Andersson would play the Lowenthal all the time in Blitz. I mean, maybe black's playing for a draw in some way. He knows some way to try to play for a draw. I don't know why a grandmaster would play this with black, especially Yakovich, who's like an expert on the Sveshnikov. It's a little hard to believe that he would play this line against Hodliefman in 2008. But there must be some sort of idea behind it. Like he knows it's bad, but he knows some trick or something. Anyway, bishop takes d6. See, so like Berta, aka Ulf Andersson, on Internet Chess Club. Black goes queen e7, goes for queen exchange. That's total Ulf Andersson style. If you get the queens off, maybe white's advantage drops very slightly. And then there's the obvious move, bishop a6, which is the classic idea. That's what Satovsky played. That's what Yakovich played. Okay. So here's my question. Is c4 an issue here? Or not? Adorian Quinteros, 1977. Interesting. And black has scored pretty well in this line. So you're supposed to take. Black plays queen a5 check. Bishop d2. Queen takes a6. And now bishop b4. Mr. Sloan knows all this stuff. Glomp, glomp. Do you castle queenside in this line? It's one of those tactical positions where black is worse. But maybe he's not necessarily lost. So Yuri Yakovich. See? You just suffer. You will suffer. But will you lose? Maybe not. So it's like a voluntary suffering variation, where the bishop is stronger than the knight. So it's not a bad gambit, effectively. But this move isn't as good. Bishop f4, and Shaki found the best move. He didn't just trade. Here you're slightly better. Darcy Lima played this. You're better after queen takes c7 check, but maybe black could build the wall, you know? After king takes d6 and e5, can you try to build a dark square wall? Oh no, Lima was white. Yeah, he played queen takes e7 check and still beat the guy. Yeah, so anyway, this is best. Who's suspicious here? Shaki or his opponent? Bishop g3. Queen takes his... Well, black at least gets the piece off the board. Now a5. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very hard to see how that bishop's getting out at all. I'm just trying to think of a way we could get the knight off of the bishop off of d6. Incredibly difficult to do. You know, black would have to play something remarkably awkward here, like king d8, knight c7, knight e8, in order to get the bishop off of d6. a5 threatening some bishop a6 is nice, but what's going to happen after c4? So castles, bishop a6, c4, knight b6, b3, and now black has the lever a4. Well, he better have a4 because otherwise he has absolutely no chance. Now this is a good move. And bishop e7 is pretty weird. Wouldn't black normally do like knight c8 here? I guess it doesn't matter. You just got no way to play d6. It doesn't matter if you can play knight c8. You can't play d6. It's a disaster. So he plays this. If he can't play d6, he's dead. I guess he can try d5. I mean, objectively, like d5. Can't get the rook in. Who's suspicious in this game? Shaki looks pretty suspicious. And now bishop h5 check. Damn, the dude must have reported you for this game. Bishop h5 check. Kind of overly accurate. Now the dark squares are even weaker. But I would think your bishop would go back. This is cool though. Obviously knight f5. We're expecting. Maybe he has to play rook f8 first. I think you have h4, h5 ideas now. You can do like a Magnus Carlsen on both sides of the board. Rook d8. What the heck is that? What is rook d8? Rook he1. Knight f5. He's still not threatening anything. Yeah, rook a1 is obviously a strong idea, but it's not the only one. And now you did this. That's like going to the poker game, winning $10,000, and then like, see you later, guys. I'm going to cash out. We'd prefer if you would stay and keep playing for a few hours with your $10,000. No, I don't know, though. I mean, this is a tough call. Bishop takes f5 feels like a concession. But, I mean, obviously you're still clearly better. Is there a concrete reason to do this, though? This is very awkward what you did here. Very awkward. Bishop takes a rook d6. That's bizarre. That rook d6 move, I gotta ask the question, you know. Did you turn off your engine before you played that move? Rook d6, it's like you're gonna sack your rook on f7. I mean on e6. I hate rook d6. Yeah, like Michelle said, going to the a file looks very logical. If you're gonna put a piece on d6, it should probably be your bishop. That would let him maybe sack a pawn or just play c5. Yeah. But anyway, black's not threatening anything. Why do you need to play rook d6? So now you can sack on there and be fancy. Now you're threatening rook takes e6 check. I think your king needs to be closer to the center to consider doing that. Now black grabs the a file. And so now you can't even sack on e6. Feel like a dummy for playing rook d6. And now bishop c8. That's unfortunate. Bishop c8. Maybe rook g7 would be better. Black definitely quit chess after this game. h5. I would play h4. But I guess you don't have to. Now that's annoying. And he doesn't trade rooks? Are you serious? How can the guy not trade rooks here? He's like suffering. I would definitely trade rooks. Oh no. I mean, he would have been lost anyway. But if anyone is suspicious in this game, it was definitely Shaki. And now the final move, c5. Yeah, this guy is like... He closed his account, and Shaki was suspicious why he closed his account. But we're not suspicious why he closed his account, dude. I mean, after that game, everybody would, like, quit chess. Seriously. If he didn't close his account, he, you know, there's something definitely suspicious. Because that was like, whew, bro. Brutal. Yeah, definitely better than the... Yeah, definitely better than the... What's it called? The Wing Gambit? Ugh. Yeah, that's not good. Alright. So we got Mule Skinner and Power of the Noob, and Mr. Slow. Alright, we'll do those guys last. Mr. Slow. Thanks, Shaki. Everyone's been, you know, bound into the dark square bind position like that before. Who's played the Sicilian, at least. That was a model game for white in a known variation. So this is Mr. Slow playing black against Flamberg. I don't know where f4. He does play e4, c5, f4 type stuff. He normally doesn't play f4 on move 1. So f4, c5. Poor Flamberg again. It looks like he gained rating points his last game or something. Wait. No, he was 1867. Okay. He's kind of... Seems like a self-taught player. You know, whenever I see someone's like he's from Ukraine, I think of them as having like a chess culture. Because Ukraine has such a strong chess culture. But there are self-taught players everywhere. I mean... Just because you're from Russia or Ukraine or wherever doesn't necessarily mean that you've been properly trained how to play chess. Like Nefidov. Plus he could be young. Alright, he's a young bear. Knight f3 and Mr. Slow with c5. I mean, c5 is always good against the birds. But you know what he'll do? He likes to play the sort of... He doesn't play the toilet variation. That's Mark Hebden's favorite. He'll play like e5, those push pass type of things. That's just incorrect, but it's playable. I call it the taxi driver attack. Like taxi drivers all over the world who don't know opening theory play this with white. This is the quintessential, I don't know book openings, but I just play this to avoid, you know, the mainline theory. But anyway, for some reason he didn't play e4 there. Wanted to keep it in the birds. Maybe he's transitioning to birds opening. So Mr. Slow now, for most players, I recommend not doing this. If you're an e4 player, do not do this. What's up? Uber driver, what? What happened to Uber driver? Oh, no offense to Uber driver, I get it. So, because Mr. Slow is a d4 and e4 player, he's capable of playing, yeah, taxi driver. No offense to Robert De Niro, who I will join in Canada soon. No. I might end up in Romania with the Tate brothers. Okay, so d3, d5. Again, don't play this if you're an e4 player. Astbate. e3. And so we got a Rouslan, Simon, Williams bear. Knight c6, and then bishop e2, and now e6. You're in Quebec, okay. Ah, vive la France. So bishop e2, e6. Now Romania is cool. If I have to, if Hungary leaves the European Union, we're gone. I'm going to Romania. If there's a Hunksit, that's it. Definitely going to Romania. I'm moving to Transylvania with Dracula. I have contacts in Transylvania. It'll be a very easy move. All right, bishop e2. Mr. So surprises me now. He plays e6, but okay, he's capable of playing the French. I never played this way. I had a friend who used to play e3 against the Dutch. He would kill people with it. So you play it like like you're playing against the King's Indian attack. I would think, like with b5, a5, bishop a6, real fast, like grab all the space on the queen side. That's how you're supposed to play this, I think. So after castles, Mr. Slow goes bishop d6. Now here we have choices, right? You could mitigate with a very safe move like b6, bishop b7. Bishop e7 looks okay. You're not committed to castling. But I'm asking the question about stuff like b5, Mr. Slow. Can we play it like a Makaganov sort of, Grunfeld? Or a King's Indian attack, essentially. And this has to exist, like in the Dutch. White has to be able to do this in the Dutch. But instead you go bishop d6. So this is interesting. This is actually a little combative. It's like you're threatening to play e5. Is this the closed Sicilian opening? Well, that's interesting that you say that, because basically every time I play the birds opening with white, I end up feeling like I'm playing the closed Sicilian anyway, right? It is and it isn't. Technically it's a birds opening, but it's basically the same thing as a closed Sicilian. Yeah. But it could also be a closed French, for that matter. But I think that black has threats of e5 now. So white needs to play... Oh no, he's going Zukertort style with knight d2. That looks like a badly timed move. I think that white, should play one of these two moves that have been played. Either queen e1, standard maneuver, allowing for bishop d1, queen h4, queen g3, push e4, or knight c3, which is another means of pushing e4. Now there's a mention of, Amy Michelle mentioning a4, and that is definitely possible. And that's, that's a question for, pension thieves everywhere. Yeah, a4 is definitely worth considering. It would slow down black's grab on the queen side. What are your hobbies? Chess, stealing pensions, and mud wrestling. I'm just trying to imagine like Simon Williams' Tinder profile. It's a shame that 42's not here. He likes to go off on the guy too. Pension fraud, mud wrestling, and chess. Okay, but boom, yeah, a4, good suggestion. But this move is like, what is white doing? That means that if you get attacked at e3, you have to put your knight on b3. So Mr. Slow here has to be tempted to play knight g4. But is this really a good move? So you force your opponent to go to b3, and then at the end of the day, you have to answer the question like, did I achieve anything, or did I just put my knight on the stupid square for no particular reason? There could be stuff like this, but I doubt it. You could try to play f5 and say, well, I'm sung Prism, and it's the Dutch, the Zuckertort Dutch type game again. But I think the answer is probably no. We don't try to punish knight on bd2 necessarily. You got to be aware that white is now threatening e4. No, he's not, because the bishop takes f4. Okay, so that's not even a threat. He's not even threatening that. Yeah, honestly, Mr. Slow, I wouldn't be in a hurry to castle necessarily. Queen c7 looks good. You know what the computer is going to suggest here? I almost guarantee it. But when white figures out how to defend the f4 pawn so he can play e4, the computer is going to be like g3 and then h5 is a good move. Or Mr. So should consider castling queenside probably. So I think that there's many ways to play this position, but definitely the automatic castle kingside is not the only way. The only bear, and that's not the only bear in town, Mr. Slow. There are other bears, but this is horrible. So now he's playing like a bird Larson, but his f4 pawn has no protection. e3 has no protection. If he plays bishop b2, he loses by force to knight g4. So now you play the weird move a5. Actually, it's not so bad. It just looks a little inflexible. You know, we're hoping for this, and then we're going to get him with knight g4, and that's what happened. So Mr. Slow just waited. A5 was just a sneaky waiting move, you know. Now, I would expect black to face like a4, maybe a3. But, you know, Rouslan Bear doesn't know what he's doing, so he plays bishop b2 mindlessly and then blunders the knight takes g4. Knight g4, knight takes e3. And white can't defend. It's a classic Dutch, where white doesn't know how to play the Dutch, but he's playing the Dutch, and like so many people fell into this trap. And he loses the exchange. And then at this point, you're just like, I don't know if I want to take that rook, because, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if Stockfish is like, bishop takes f4 is probably better. I mean, you could take his rook, you can take on c2, win the other rook, or you can look behind like door number 3 and play like d4, killing his pieces forever. I wouldn't be surprised if bishop takes f4 is like the best move for black here. But yeah, why not take on f1 and then take on f4? That's what you did. He's looking with the king. I mean, I understand not taking with the queen. Actually, I don't know. There's no good recapture. Mr. Slow's just winning. Ugh, that was terrible. You think like, you can't even play queen h4. Horrible. This is just like taking candy from a baby. Give me that candy, baby. He just spits it up. It's just like taking candy from the baby. Unbelievable. Rouslan Bear was not playing his A game in this one. Well, Mr. Slow was really noticeably accurate or sharp on Tuesday. This move is a concession of sorts. It doesn't feel like you should take, but I can see you like want to probably get this diagonal. Maybe white should take back with the pawn. And then we would see a different continuation, I guess. That's clearly very strong with the idea of f5. Brip. Brip. And another piece. And another one. And another one. And a boop. We need sound effects. Yeah, this is... Alright, dude, that was ugly. Alright, we got Shaki, that, Power of the New, Nefidov. So the last two games are Mule Skinner and Power of the New. I'll save Mule Skinner for last. Let's quickly do Power of the New, who I don't know who Power of the New is, so... If you'd like to, you know, come out of the closet at some point, Power of the New, you know, we fully support you. I don't even know if he's a subscriber, or he's a she or a he or what. I don't know nothing about Power of the New. They have a high rating, right? 2260. This is 30 plus 5. This is 5 plus 5. No. 10 plus 5. I'm good at math. So, Power of the New, the mysterious Power of the New. Okay, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop f4. This is a very unique variation. My old ex-friend, Ramajan Giashvili, used to love to play like knight f3 and then bishop f4 and blitz. It's like a London system where you play c4. It's not a bad system. Objectively, it's okay. I find that a lot of people who play black in this bishop f4 type of thing, they don't really know what to do. It's kind of amorphous. So black. See, I play bishop g5 a lot, and it's kind of the same. Amorphous setups. But bishop f4 right away is interesting. So I imagine black has all options here, you know. d6, d5, c5. So black can still decide to play the King's Indian, the Grunfeld, the Benoni. Yeah, but here, we're not typically playing e4. So Power of the New, yeah, you see there's 50 games and only a few played e4. It's strange to play e4 here. A little strange. I had once e4, d6, knight f3, knight a6. I thought bishop e2. I had Alexander Neumann play bishop f4 against me and then knight a6, King's Indian. See, normally in the classical King's Indian, you don't put the bishop on f4 because it's going to get hit by e5 at some point. This is a very rare move. So what you normally do is either wait with knight f3 or play e3. This is strange, a little strange. What is that? I got a message. Oh no, another game? Rest in peace. Any games have to be from subscribers to the stream, and additional games beyond the last two will be put in for next week because I'm losing my voice. All right, e4, d6, and now knight f3, and now black played knight on bd7. I don't know if black is whiner or winner, but I know Stephen Weiner. He might be a winner who misspelled winner, and if he misspelled winner, he's not really a winner. But Steve Weiner would be stronger in this. There's a FIDE master from New Hampshire. Okay. So, knight f3. Yeah, I don't really love knight on bd7. It's okay. No, this is an interesting move. Because, you see, even Wyckovic played it. The d4, we've told Astbate about this, but the d4 square is the weakest point in the classical King's Indian center. And the problem with bishop f4 is it doesn't do anything. The problem with bishop f4 is that it doesn't do anything to secure our center. And these two guys are usually better defended than the one on d4. So bishop g4 makes some sense. You're taking out the knight on f3. That's one of the only guardians of d4. Why else would my old friend Witkovich play it? Alec was a tricky player, particularly with black. He played a lot of stuff, weird stuff. Once he did like a6, knight a6, knight c7 against me, something like that. He did like c6, bishop g4, knight a6, knight c7, knight e6. Tricky. Anyways, d6, knight f3. What was that? R.C. Stinson subscribed to tier 1. Thank you for subscribing. All right, we got a game from R.C. Stinson. Knight on bd7, bishop e2. We're now transposing to a bishop e2, classical King's Indian with the move bishop f4, which I think is weird. As you know, that bishop can be attacked by knight h5 and by e5. Kind of losing to McShane. It's probably Greg likes to go to like those snobby Gibraltar tournaments. Shane never beat me. 2 tries. Okay, bishop e2, h6. That's definitely like a weird move. If black could get in e5, you know, he would play it. This sometimes works tactically, but here, I'm not sure this is gonna fly. It's definitely worth considering, though. Oh shit, this works? No way. Wow, it works. Oh my god. It's the best move for black. And McShane didn't find it. Oh, Greg beat McShane. And no, Greg beat McShane with white. Wow. So 3 games here, no one found e5. I know to look for that move. You know, I'm not surprised it works. Because there's tactics along the open file here. This is weak. Castles. And now knight h5. Another mistake. So black's missing, I guess, missing the best way to exploit the bishop on f4. Now the question is, my only concern is if I go bishop e3, will f5 be a thing? So if I go here, this looks really, really crazy, but just let's take a look. Could this possibly work? Probably not. White's position is too strong. I mean, you have stuff like knight h4. There's no way this is going to float. Okay, yeah. Now f5 is crazy. So you just ended up putting your knight out on the side of the board. Now you have to play e5. And, okay, that's reasonable, actually. So if I'm white now, my first instinct is to keep the tension. Okay, I got the game. My first instinct is to keep the tension here. If we trade pawns or something, I think black's fine. So this move, attacking h7. Now sometimes even this might be a good move, where you clear the d file for the rook. We're preventing knight f4. That can be played as a pawn sacrifice, but the conditions have to be right. I would expect like queen c1, king h7, and maybe some kind of rook move now, like rook d1. And otherwise, you could play rook e1, keep the tension. But d5 doesn't feel right to me. You're letting black play knight f4. The other possibility is g3. Physically stopping knight f4 at the cost of slightly weakening your king side. But is it really a problem? Because I have rook e1, and that bishop can come back to there, you know, as a defender. and become like, it can essentially become a fiend cut of bishop g2. So I think that g3 is a reasonable idea, difficult to exploit. But this closes it up. You allow knight f4, and now black has a decent position. Now I know what the computer is going to say here. It's going to not like taking on f4. But the question is, yeah, I thought this would be a decent move. The engine gave it an inaccuracy. I probably would have played the same. Rook e1. It looks very logical. The plan is to play bishop f1, and if he takes your knight, bishop, so what? If he takes it, he takes it. Technically, like, knight d2 was more accurate. So anyway, he takes it. I'm not sure he should. Now we take what with the queen, and now black plays f5. And now if we play knight d2, we lose a bishop to f4. So this is a little bit of a problem. This is basically the problem. Oh no. So if we take in the other way with the rook, we have other problems. But if f5, you could play, I guess, knight e1. This doesn't look good either. Black has like f4 and even sometimes sort of f3 sacks. So this is a tough call. Looks like we got in trouble. Queen takes e2, f5. Okay, so he's just going to hang out and allow this tension. And if I'm black here, I would think about maybe not playing f4 directly. But I would be very careful about the decision to play f4 or not. This is the most important moment in King's Indians, when you have an option with black to decide between pushing, in the classical King's Indian, either pushing or taking, because they're completely different. Black has a late square bishop, white doesn't. So if you play knight f6, your bishop can come into the game. Maybe f5. Maybe this diagonal opens up. Maybe this diagonal becomes part of the game. So it's not always just like King's Indian. Pawn storm is the most important thing. This may not be an ideal position for a pawn storm. f4, bishop d2. I guess here's another really important moment where in a lot of cases when this happens, you're better off playing bishop c1. The bishop can redeploy out to a3, and your knight keeps the square d2. So if you start seeing a pawn storm, I can play this, and as long as this sack doesn't work, we can probably, navigate at least. I mean, I agree that black has some kingside attack here. It looks a little scary, in fact. I'm thinking black is better. So I think we misplayed this, allowing f4 and king h7. We're going to have to try a different means of defense then. I think h3, knight h2. I would seriously consider h3 here. And if g5, knight h2. And if I can get my king the hell out, I would seriously maybe do it. There's also the possibility of pushing g4. You could build like a light square fortress. Oftentimes, black has a very bad bishop on g7. It's not easy to play like bishop f8, bishop e7, bishop d8, bishop b6. So there are defensive possibilities here for white. But the way white played here is a little routine. Now a5, playing on the wrong side of the board. I'm not even sure I understand what king h7 is about. Why is king h7 played? I mean, we want to play for g5. We need to get our knight over here. The standard plan is like rook f7, right? Rook f7, knight, bishop f8. This is the standard King's Indian plan. Rook f7, whatever, rook c1, bishop f8, holding up c5. I try to play for c5, and then you go like rook g7, and you're going to ram this pawn. with g5, g4. And then white's going for c5. Maybe he wanted to put the rook on g8. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a kind of new version of the same thing. But this playing on the queen side, you know, may be the wrong idea. Now h3. Yeah, you were right about that. I mean, it could end up being the same. But I'm sure the king is better on h7. It might be safer on h8. Another subtle point, if you put the king on h8 and you put the rook on g7, you can put your knight on g8. So sometimes that knight actually goes knight f6, knight g8, strange as that sounds. So both sides are kind of playing on the queen side. Black plays g5, c5, b takes c5, b takes c5, and then black sacks in exchange on a4 here. Okay, this feels like just a fast game. But he should attack on the king side. But this is the computer's move. It looks a little early to me. Black would prefer to have time to play knight f6, you know, to support this better. Then g4 is stronger. And you also have knight e8 if you need to defend c7 and come back. But the important thing is that you're getting all your pieces in the game. Pushing g4 before this bishop's diagonal is even open seems pretty strange to me. But maybe there's a concept. Like, the computer recommends g4. But I was just wondering, can black try something cool like that? Maybe that's the idea. You know, you do g4, white takes, and then you just play there. I don't know if feeding the pawn back does anything. Probably not, you know. So white probably has to do a knight h2 type of stuff. And then you're just taking anyway. We see like knight takes, bishop takes, and again, it looks like white is in trouble. It looks like white might be in really serious trouble on the king side. Black did a crazy sacrifice here. You know, that's just not necessary. I mean, what is the knight on a4? Is the knight on a4 hurting somebody? I mean, really? The knight on a4 is not threatening anything. What is it doing? It's just sitting on the side of the board. It's not even a good piece. You know, why would black sack here? This is just completely random. Like, well, it's like he thought it was hanging, or I don't know. You know, he wanted to draw the queen away. That's just crazy. And he takes on c5, so, okay, fine. But you're still down the exchange. Black still has an attack, you know. Maybe white has to seriously consider sacking back here. He does. So this is the best move of the game. You know, rook takes c5. This isn't forced, and it's a smart move. Because he gets rid of that initiative that black has. And most importantly, he'll get the e5 pawn. But I'm wondering now, how strong is g4? What if black just ignores him and plays g4? I think you have to take. And then bishop takes. And you're threatening bishop takes knight. Then the knight would move. But I mean, what if bishop h3? You know, I mean, you can't defend g2. What are we going to do here? This looks really scary. So we have to move our king. So it would be king f1. And then black recaptures. This is probably what would happen. Or if you want to be, you could do it this way. And now it's 5 against 5. No, 5 against 4. But black structure is horrible. It's probably a draw. This is probably a draw. I mean, black's up a pawn, but his pawns are doubled. And there's not that many pieces left. I imagine white has compensation for the sacrifice pawn. Peter thinks that black's a little better. But anyway, rook takes c5 was a good counter sack. Black takes back. Let me just see what the computer says. G4 is very interesting. You know, it's close. So G4 was really interesting. He takes back, knight takes e5, and now I think that white has a good, you know, counter chances now. He's got the central pawn. He's ready to meet G4 by capturing it. Material is equal, but white has a better structure. He has strong center. His bishop is good. The only thing black has is the light square bishop. And so he goes G4, but not an easy position to play. You know? Maybe bishop D6 or something. Shouldn't be black playing on the side? Yeah. Where his pawns are pointing? Well, that's general rule. Yes, of course, black's kingside. Rook takes A4 was a weird move, but it was a decoy. So this is probably wrong. It was probably wrong to play G4. I mean, he doesn't want to give up his light square bishop. Seriously, G4? I mean, I would just take with a knight. I'm perfectly happy, like, trading my knight. There may be a trap, though. Like, check this out. If knight takes G4, H5, and suddenly there's no tricks, and when you move the knight, black has bishop takes H3. So this could be trickier than it looks. Looks like G4 is a mistake. He could have played H5, obviously. Not an easy move to find. G4, H4, Queen G5, and then Bishop C3 defending the knight, which looks like a good move. But I guess just a fast game where both sides have a minute left. What is white supposed to play here? He has Queen E8. Maybe he has this? No. This is a very tough position. I mean, if you're short of time, it's hard to find this move. So, very hard move to find. Knight D3, that's the engine's move. And the idea is that queen takes G4, knight takes F4, and white is okay. And like this doesn't do anything because of E5. Okay. So white's pawns save him, but instead played this, and black misses. Bishop takes G4, obvious move, does this, and then Queen A1, another blunder. So it just became a bullet game. It's just blunder after blunder. Bishop E5, Bishop E5, Queen takes G4. The light squares are going. You have to play G3, and now white's getting mated on the light squares. It looks like he's getting mated on the light squares, but he has this miracle to attack F3, so this isn't possible. Check. Oh no. Oh no, Bishop D7 and there's no mate. Now black's threatening Rook H1 with the mating net. So you have Rook F3. Black's winning except for Rook takes F3. Unbelievable. Only move. And now black missed the resource. Rook takes E5, decoy. And he's better. Well, I'm not sure he's winning. Rook takes E5, Queen takes E5, Queen takes F3. Yeah, this isn't so clear. We have Queen E7 check. We're getting that bishop. So, but white played that, and then Queen takes F3, Queen D7 check, King G6, and now black gets mated. Anyway, it was a lot of very, very complicated tactics where both sides had very little time. I don't really like going over blitz games in serious analysis. And now secondly, I will say another thing. This is why I don't like playing the King's Indian. I don't like playing the King's Indian in fast time controls, especially with white. Because when you get these sharp kind of attacking positions, you know, you just don't have time to calculate. It's too complex. I think the opening should be maybe adjusted for the time limit. What is that? Arstinson, you sent me the same game. 22 minutes later, I got it. Is this the same game? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to add this to the study. Hey guys, I got to go after this. Didn't get Mule Skinner yet. Time is it? All right, we got time. I got this game and Mule Skinner. And that's it. No more submitting games. All right. If anybody else wants to submit a game, it's for next week. And I'm making an exception for this new player here who subscribed. And if you'd like to subscribe, send me the game. I'll put it in next week. Okay, so we're white. It's a Sicilian. Black plays e6, and you played b3. So it's a common line. It's like you played, it's like you played b3. Black played e6, then you played knight f3. It's a b3 deferred, and now black's. My preference is b6 here after b3. I used to like to play b6, but it's just one of many possibilities. I know knight f6 is also maybe not so good in this position. I'm not sure. I got into trying to play b3 a little bit recently, in last year or so. In fact, I played my first b3 Sicilian last year. My first and only b3 Sicilian last year in a GM tournament in Budapest. And it was kind of an interesting game. It was a draw eventually, but very sharp. I think the b3 system is okay. Another thing is, like, against e6, there's no Rouslan. There's a c3 Sicilian, but b3 is one of the only real decent sidelines against e6, I guess. Black played a6. I guess a6, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this move. What is the point of a6 in this position exactly? It could prevent you from playing a future bishop b5. But, instead of what he did, I think it's better to play b6 and just go with immediate bishop b7. If the idea is to put pressure on the e4 pawn, that's the point of b6. Just play b6. See, in the normal open Sicilians, the b6 is not considered that great a line. But here, I think it's better. You don't have immediate pressure because you played b3. You don't have, like, your knight jumping into b5, into d6. So you get away with b6 better. a6 is slow. And then this is slow and a little weakening because, you can hit him with, you might hit him with a4. You can see here there's a bunch of games with a4. I'm not sure it would be my choice, but it's definitely, anytime black does the early b5, this is something you have to consider. Black probably has to play b4. But unclear to me if it's worth going for a4 or not. You did it. You played a4. Okay. b4. There's a bishop b7. I trust this more. So c4 square is weak. You might be able to play a5 later. That's a Queen's Gambit accepted idea, where you, like, fix his pawn and try to use, I don't know, if you could only get, like, the outpost. So now you played bishop c4. Yeah, I don't know what you should do. I would be thinking d4. We're going into a kind of open Sicilian, but you have knight here. Your knight can go here later. Your bishop c4, that feels a little bit weird because black's going to hit you with d5. How are we going to deal with d5? Do we have some kind of trap or something? Like take, check? If that's the case, we're in trouble. I mean, We're inducing d5 here, but we don't really have a good answer for it. If d5, we have to back up. You know, bishop d3 or take. But what's the trap? Do we have a trap for real? Like knight e5? There's no traps, right? He has the Astbate. Or like this sort of thing. I don't think that white has any traps. You just have to back up. So bishop c4 is bad. I mean, think about it this way. Your knight has to get into the game. So you have two options. You can either play d3 or a d4. And you can play them when you want. You can delay it if you want to. But e4 is going to have to be protected. So your only other option is to do something like d3, knight d2, and it's rather passive. I think that d4 is definitely better. This is weird. Now we have to defend e4. Now he can't play d5 as effectively. So he plays d6. Now we have the chance to play d4 again. You did it. I think this is good. So you've transferred to a kind of open Sicilian where your pieces are very active. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight d2, and then knight b7. Okay. Now, what is our plan in this position? Because the a5 move might be an interesting idea. You could artificially isolate the b4 pawn, but then again, if he ever plays a5, we have b5. So maybe we shouldn't worry about it. You castle queenside. Wow. I totally didn't consider you were going to castle queenside. I thought you were going to castle kingside. So I'm completely thinking about castling kingside here and using maybe f4 type of ideas. You castled queenside. This may not be bad. Your king has relative safety. It's very interesting. a4 makes this possible. Because a4 sort of locks the queenside, I really didn't think this would happen. But, you know, maybe it's not bad. It's hard for him to open your king up, and ultimately you can attack on the other side. So queenside castle is an interesting move. Yeah, I was completely expecting you to go kingside, which is arguably safer. And now knight e5, trapping your bishop. But okay, fine. You know, that's fine. That's fine. You have knight takes, and your knight will be well placed there. It's a relatively closed. Let's just say your knights have good outposts, and it's hard for him to open the position. I wouldn't call it a closed position, okay. But he doesn't have any breaks. But d5 is black's only break. Is he going to take your bishop? You played f4, he takes your bishop, you take with the knight. Alright, this side I don't know if I'm crazy about. I'd rather take with the knight than take with the queen. You could play just a safe move, like king b1, for example. And if knight c4, yeah, you're going to have to take it. Okay. So that is a problem. Maybe f3. If you play f3, he'll take. You take with the knight. Now your knights are good. Your knights are very strong blockers too. You don't have an immediate attack, but you have pressure here. You know, d5 is dangerous for black. So I would expect him to play like bishop e7. Then the question would be, how fast can you attack black on the king side? Sort of thing, you know. I think this deserves consideration. The way you played it may be easier to play, but I don't love taking with the queen Because I really wanted to get our knight to c4. It's such a good square for the knight. Now we're like facing the possible loss of e4. He could take this, but then there's tactics for white. So what about rook c8? Let's say rook c8, attacking your queen, taking the pawn. Possible, dangerous. I don't know. So black plays d5, defending his b pawn. This makes a lot of sense. Yeah, takes. Bishop takes d5, queen e2, rook c8, and damn. So black needs to get developed here. You have knight f5. Wow, this is very, very scary suddenly for black. How does he get developed? Because if bishop e7, you have knight f5, and then bishop takes f6, which looks really frightening, but is it enough? It's an incredibly scary position for black. Apparently, he's got it. He's got it. He's better. He can defend with rook a7. It's close though. So how do we feel about this? The engine thinks you're much better. f5, no matter what. I mean, I got to be honest about something here. You know. I mean, he did this tempting move, but I'm not sure that knight e5 is so good at the end of the day. So black didn't want to do this because if bishop takes e6. This is winning for you, probably. Bishop e6, pawn e6, knight takes e6, and knight takes g7 check. And with re-establishment of the knight on f5, this is a very standard sack. So objectively, probably what he should do is something like knight c5, like a Najdorf. Then he has to watch out for this as well, but maybe that's not so dangerous. I'm not sure that knight e5 is that great. We'll see. f4 takes, queen takes. I still feel like black is okay here. Interesting. d5, ed5. Right. Okay. So this moment here, he should take with the queen. Duh. Take with the queen. Not queen d6. Queen d5. All right, I need a new mouse. But I'm like buying a new computer. I'll get 2 mics while I'm at it. Mule Skinner, you're up last. Queen takes d5. Wow, white's even better here. Anyway, what this goes to show is that bishops aren't always better than knights. You know, the knight e5, knight takes c4. It takes time, and your knights are pretty strong. So good game. Queen e2, rook c8, f5. Very strong attack now. Bishop c5. And we're expecting pawn takes pawn. We found this. Damn. Blocking all of his threats along the c-file and opening up your own play here. Castles, fe6. And now if he takes back, he loses. If he doesn't take back, he sacks a pawn. All right. Better to sack a pawn. But how to sack a pawn? This game is sort of frightening, you know. It doesn't feel like black really had a chance. I don't even know what he did wrong. Well, okay, the opening itself wasn't great. Like a6 wasn't great. He has absolutely no threats against your king. This is really weird. So he finds the best move, queen c7, rook h f1. Now, this is another brutal threat. Rook takes knight, lighting up that diagonal. You don't care about your h2 pawn. He takes it, you take. Oh no. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And knight f5 is devastating. So I was thinking knight f5 right away, but he has queen f4 check. So you go here, check. This is insane. King h8, knight f5. Oof. That is That is brutal. All right, nice game. Nothing black can do. Yeah, that looked like a very good game. All right, guys, one more. My last game is Mule Skinner, who just showed up just in time. Nice. All right, you just made it. It's a French. Wow. Imagine that. Juan against Mule Skinner. French exchange variation. So, yeah, we hate this. Gotta live with it. Have you ever been so frustrated you thought about playing queen takes d5? I know I have. Just playing like blitz games online. Yeah, you get so sick of the exchange French, right? So e takes d5, and then knight f3. Knight f6 is a Petrov. And now knight c3. That's unusual. I feel like we saw this recently. Guys, by the way, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow at around noon European time, CET, Central European time. We're going to be taking some blitz challenges. I usually do that, a couple hours of blitz challenges on Friday. Celebrate Friday. But is it me, Mule Skinner? Did you have this last week? Wasn't there another exchange variation? But it's so rare to see knight c3. That's, you know, the knight itself, well, it has b5, right? It has the Blackburn path back to e2. So you see here, like, the vast majority of players played c6 because it dominates the knight. But I don't think that c6 is necessarily the only move, right? Didn't we see a game, I feel like last time? You change your repertoire, okay. You change your repertoire and now play the Slav. Yeah, okay, well, that's good, but this is a French. I'm just wondering about this. No more Benko. Yeah, 97. Well, I mean, you know, the thing about 97, normally you're going for bishop f5 exchanges. This is definitely the normal move. Yeah, I'm just wondering what other options you have. If knight f6, bishop g5, then you play c6 and it's even stronger. So knight f6 is definitely good. If he goes here now, that's weird. I don't see that check necessarily helps us. I'm just thinking out loud. And then like bishop f4. It's really annoying. You have to play here. I hate this. That's the face hugger. Although this isn't such a bad face hugger, you can get that knight off of b5 with c6 and try to re-coordinate, but it's still not ideal. So I'm just wondering, your other options here are pretty limited. Alright, well, let's see what happens on knight b5. He doesn't do it. This is we looked at this last week, I swear, man. Thank you for resubscribing, Mule Skinner. How many months now? 75? You must have missed one somewhere. It's Renzo Mantovani versus Laputian. One of those rare, lower-rated player plays for a draw with the exchange French and gets it. So Laputian puts his bishop on a5, right? Check. c3. Bishop a5. You know, Laputian plays the winnower with bishop a5. So I guess that's that's like his favorite square or something. Yeah, I would just go with c6 in general. All right. So here he doesn't call it. Yeah, he has to play knight b5. He should play knight b5. He doesn't have to. He should. Now you played bishop f5. is certainly not a bad move. Speaking of the Slav, this is why you brought up the Slav, because it looks like a Slav now. Yeah, I mean, you got to consider like A6, seriously. The Kraken. You can play it like a Kraken, play A6 instead of C6, and then you can put your knight on C6. And this actually looks like, well, obviously the French exchange variation and the Petrov have a lot of similarity. But from my perspective, if you played A6 and put your knight on C6, obviously you can put your knight on C6, but again, you're allowing knight B5. I don't know if that's an issue. How big an issue that is. It is your good bishop. It's tough to think about. This bishop E3, by the way, is horrible. This is horrible. Like, white is just playing like a noob, It's like, what does that do? He's like overprotecting a pawn that has no pressure on it. The bishop isn't very mobile on E3. He just didn't have a better score, but honestly, like, it probably would be better to play bishop G5, bishop H4 and bishop G3. In retrospect, although that gives you the chance for like a pawn storm type of thing on the king side. This is such a bad move though, bishop E3. Now you castled, and then he plays queen E2. So he's like, I'm going to castle queenside. Actually, he has an idea here, but it's not really working. I mean, he could play bishop F4, but he can't do that if his C2 pawn is loose. Could he play queen D2, bishop F4, trading your dark square bishop off? So now you finally played C6. But I still say you could opt for A6, put the knight on C6 instead. C6. And if he goes bishop F4, you win a pawn. So now, like, I'm expecting the dude to play like rook C1. But if he does that, you have queen C7, preventing bishop F4. Astbate, what's up? We got a follow from Joshua of Lee Chess. So thanks guys for the resubs and the subs. Back tomorrow, 12:30 CET with a couple hours of blitz chess. White is playing like a super noob. He played H3 now. Now, if you play knight D7, he's going to play... No, he still doesn't have it. Okay, knight D7. Again, this is a problem. How to beat a super noob with black in exchange French. And now bishop D3. Trading off his own better bishop. Fine with us. Rook E8. Castles. And now I would consider maybe... Well, we've got to win with black against a lower-rated player in a symmetrical position. I'm assuming he's lower-rated. I mean, he's playing like he's a noob. If he's higher-rated, he shouldn't be. And he shouldn't be playing like this. This is a player where we're either winning or he's getting away with a draw. But I'm thinking about what you should do here. And the problem is this knight... The knight is your guardian of e5, so I feel like this is not necessarily the right idea. I liked bishop g6 for you. I see that maybe he could try bishop f4, you'd wreck his pawn structure if he does that. So what does he do after bishop g6? So my point would be, we have knight f5. Maybe knight f5. Maybe knight f5 doesn't really do much. And if you don't like knight f5, another option would be knight f8. Knight f8 keeps the f pawn free, so you can play f6 at some point. You also have this, where you can put pressure on his d4 pawn. Look, it's not an exciting position. We can only do so much. But if he tries to establish this, we can play f6 and kick him out. I think that's an important concept. Whereas when you go here, it may not be a bad move, but now it's not so easy to deal with his knight coming to e5. Probably you calculated something here. I don't think knight f6 is that bad. Okay, bishop takes f5. He's releasing the tension. Knight takes f5. And now bishop g5. And now I'm going to need to see his chess license. I'm okay with this, man. I mean, I think you're better. And it's very likely to be a draw, but after h6, bishop f6, queen f6, rook ae1 or rook e1, black has the better half of this. Your bishop is stronger than the knight. Your advantage is very, very small, but it's there. Your pawns, you know, the majority of your pawns are on the correct color with your bishop. Nefidov gifting what? 5 gift subs. Chancied. Dose Vain Glory. Haircut Jimmy, Mr. Chess, 1978. And Bentha 123. Thank you, Nefidov. 5 gift subs. Nefidov, nice game today. Extra nice. That's like a brown beer. He just donated like 2 brown beers. No, I think that, you know, just play h6. What's the problem? What did you do now? You did bishop c7. Oh, you played for Astbate. Oh, no. Yeah, I don't get it. Why didn't you play h6? Do you think he's going to go here? This isn't better. You know, this is worse. Knight takes h4, knight takes h4, knight e4. I would assume this is better than the other line for you. Wait a second. All right, so you played... No, honestly, what he should do after h6 is play bishop f4. What are we talking about here? He should play bishop f4. Actually, he should play bishop f4 in the first place. Danke. Chancey. Rook e7. I mean, what? You want to do like this? Yeah, maybe. But this is definitely better for black. I think you have to settle for that. He should probably play bishop f4. And now black's a little bit better, right? Knight e4. Knight e4. Rook e4, for example. h6 is a useful move. You made Luft. Rook takes e4. Not e5. Rook takes e4. Bishop takes d6. And yeah, you could say, well, this is a draw. But, okay, it's a draw, but black's a little bit better. And you're definitely never losing this game. You might have to be accepting a draw later, but I still don't understand bishop c7 that much. After this, why... why... Why not knight here? You have knight takes d4? Uh-huh. It's a nice move. Alright, maybe your plan was okay, but okay, maybe it was okay, finally. This wasn't so bad. Bishop c7, queen d6, okay. And then anyway, he takes, fine. You got the same basic thing. Queen takes. So he's playing for a draw. He's a low-rated noob. Playing for a draw. Rook takes e8, rook e1. Now, here's an interesting position where I don't think you'd be out of your mind to not trade rooks or move your rook off the open file. So you played bishop c7 to stop bishop f4. Anyway, it was okay. But I'm saying here is a kind of crazy situation where if I really wanted to win, I'm not sure it would be nuts to play, you know, rook d8 or something like that. If you decided to play that, I wouldn't criticize you. Because the point is, I don't think he has any getting in on the open file. But nevertheless, you have options. One other option is interesting is this. I was wondering what would happen if you like played rook e6, he traded, and you took with the pawn. Because you could change the pawn structure to something a little bit more interesting. Obviously, this is like slightly better for black, but probably a draw. If you take with the pawn, that could effectively create a lot of imbalance in the position. And I don't think he has any way of turning that into a weakness. That pawn is hard to attack. So you want to win, you got to come up with, creative ideas. Maybe knight g5. Can he force you to exchange? Maybe he can. I mean, all right. If we get to this position, right, you sack your queen. Oops. Oh, no. I didn't see it at first. Oof, you guys should see this. Mate. Oh, no. Rook e6. But that's the kind of thing you have to do. You have to try to set traps in a symmetrical position like this. Even the slightest advantage might be enough. I feel like here you played a little routinely. You're still slightly better. Even this. Seriously. Any change in the pawn structure, like for example, he takes, what's he going to do? I don't think this is bad for you. You've created imbalance in the pawn structure. Now you can play for b6, c5, play for e5. His pawn's fixed on the dark square. Your king can approach the center. A lot of cases where you're a little bit better. You played g6, knight e2. You're definitely better now. Now you played h5. Your intention was to attack the king side. I'm more focusing on the center here. I still like the idea of queen e6, but I think you're late. Now it's really late because he has this. You've got no way to defend. You'd have to be like kind of lucky not to be worse now. So h5, it's okay, but I mean, I'm not sure like attacking the king side is a realistic plan. Now he goes queen e5. That should hardly be a surprise. Queen takes e5, knight takes e5, and then king g7, and you're better. You've got 6 pawns on light squares, a dark square bishop, but no pawn structure imbalance. c3, and then f6. Yeah, I'm not sure about f6. Maybe you need to play it now while your king is defending g6. But I was thinking about maybe this. I like your king, here. I'm not sure. I mean, your pawns are almost all on light squares. I think you have no losing chances. You have really interesting possibilities. Like, say he plays, I don't know, king f1. You go knight f5. He takes, and then you take on e5. Now he has to move his knight. But where? Like e3? Probably a draw. But you're better. So f6, okay, how bad is it? Well, he's a good square. This is a very good square. This is objectively a draw. That's one pawn on a dark square. Now another pawn on a dark square. I don't understand this move. I don't like a5 at all. he doesn't really have any threats. So I think you should just centralize your king with like king f7. But now you have like a couple pawns on dark squares. White should probably play a4. I guess in that case you can play b5. I don't know. You want to do this though. This is very double-edged. b5. Maybe b5 is okay. You gotta watch your f4 pawn. Yeah, I don't think b5 is okay. You should centralize your king, man. I mean, I think we go back to f6 and you bring your king up. And bring your king to the center of the board. You know, that should probably be like the #1 priority in this position. And you might be able to get his knight out without playing f6. You have a lot of options, actually. Really, seriously, a lot of options. Like, imagine white plays like king f1. I don't know, king e6, king e2. Now, just for theoreticals, knight c4, for example. Black must be better here. Computer says no. 0.0. Okay, knight e4. You're definitely better. There's ways I can go wrong. But this putting the pawns on the wrong color doesn't seem right to me. Now he goes knight c5. He's not threatening anything. And you finally play king f7, thank God. Okay. Knight f1. Now you played b5. But yeah, I mean the bathtub, the Shaki I call the smile. Yeah, I mean b5 is controversial because you're giving up your right to play b6. I mean, you might need to play b6 to kick his knight out of there. Do you want to play b5 necessarily? So I think first priority would be like king e7. Then you decide what you want to do. You know, you might play this. b5's it's okay, I guess, but it's committal. Now he goes back. All right, now the king is centralized. Fine. Surprised he doesn't play knight f4 check now, but you have king f5 actually. So he plays f3. At some point, knight c4 is going to be interesting. He could take, and I'd be surprised if this wasn't still a draw. But you have c5, don't you? Actually, this is really strong. You have c5 coming, so he's smart not to trade. Plays that. You might even be able to play c5, even if it's an IQP, because you have such good king position. Now white plays, he should play king f2. Yeah, I mean b4 is totally crazy, you know. Feels like you got in time pressure now. And you're starting to do crazy stuff. You have a low-rated opponent, no chances of losing. Not no chances of losing. I mean, I guess you were worried about, like, you might have seen this and been like, oh shit, you know, knight f4 wins a pawn. You have to be a little bit careful there. You don't really want to fix your pawns on dark squares. I suppose you can if you have to. a4. When in doubt, you know, when in doubt, put your pawns on the opposite color of your bishop. So you kind of tried for a tactical trick with b4. All right, he plays king f2, and now you sack the piece. Wow. So I thought you were going to just trade pawns or something. You still don't have to rush. You know, objectively, it's probably a draw. But again, black is always better. So you sack the piece here. Knight takes b2, pawn takes, knight takes, pawn takes. Here, bishop takes, pawn check. And you have 3 connected passed pawns. Holy shit. Now you play g5. So the point is, if you play c5, he has knight f4 check. I see. I don't know what the evaluation of this position is, but I'm under the impression that you're not worse. You should it's probably a draw with like perfect play, but your opponent is not a computer, and I like the fact that you took a risk there. g5. Knight e3 now. He has knight c2 blockading. Do you have anything better than g5? I really want to take that knight. If we play c5, he plays knight f4 check. And if we play king d6, he takes our g6 pawn. It's most unpleasant. So this is a reasonable move. White plays knight e3. He played c5, and he plays knight c2. Oh no. Still, we really don't want to get our pawns messed up. This wasn't well planned out. So I guess here you have to be careful. Is c5 a major mistake? You need to play c5, c4, but your bishop's getting stuck. So what if you move your bishop like bishop a7? Because this way, oh no, the towels. Here. You have two plans. You can play d4, or you can play, well, actually c5, c4 is the main plan. So what does he do after bishop c7? Let's say like a4. Exactly. But you want me to play a4? I thought he would play a4. Then we play c5. And now we're threatening c4. And once we get all these pawns moving, we're going to get them all moving, then we're going to come in with our king. And white's got some issues. So he has to find a way to, like, I don't know, sack a knight to create a drawn position. Probably. Computer thinks you're like winning there. So I think this is critical moment. Dark square pawn, dark square pawn, dark square pawn, another dark square pawn. Now our bishop's like trapped. Now it's a draw. So what's the best move here? This is it. Critical position. I'm saying it's bishop a7. You could go to b6 instead, but it's easier to attack the bishop on b6. So I don't know why farther away appeals to me. Peter still says it's a draw. It's the best move. God damn, I'm good. It's still a draw. I mean, but you know, you have good practical chances. Whatever. You know, I think you play bishop a7. He plays a4. That's a blunder, apparently. Wow. So he has to find a very specific move. Probably won't find it. Knight e1. You know, this isn't easy to find. Knight e1, and what's the idea? King up? You know, you also have king e5, king f4, king g3 in some positions. The chances for black here are much better than white. Yeah, this is a shame. You know, and after this, c5, looks like you're in trouble. If your only move is bishop g1, you have a problem. Still, I'm not sure. Maybe it's still okay. We actually have king f1, c4. I have no idea what's going on there. But that's an awesome position. You're like winning. If king f1, it's such a shame he didn't play king f1. It's so tempting. So tempting to play king f1. He played knight a3. Yeah, you're still better. Wow. Oh no. You dropped a pawn with knight b5 check? Jesus. So you have bishop c5 and then d4. He probably has to play here. And then you have your king. Though you might need to play this, for example, first. And then, as I said, you have this idea as well. It's always about time with you. 93, and it's just on the verge of still winning. You blundered your c-pawn. Now, are you necessarily lost here after losing the c-pawn? And like maybe we have to choose a square. Now you're definitely trying to hang on for a draw. Oh. At this point, I mean, I'm happy if I can draw, I guess. C3. Knight takes f6. I had a blitz game like this yesterday. Dude, you have bishop f2? Whoa. You have bishop f2. Are you serious? What does he do after bishop f2? That's not enough of a threat? Oh. Looks like you're close. It's still a draw after bishop f2. This might be okay too. Oh my god. You can't go through the pawn. What a nightmare. So it took another blunder to lose. Okay, he's starting 96 check actually. But I think you still have bishop. No, you don't have bishop g3. Well, I guess the previous move was really bad. You should have gone like here. I think this is a serious threat. There's definitely positions where you really threaten to play bishop f2. And you're stuck now. Is there anything you can do here? Can we play c2 and still draw? Oh man. His pawn is just, yeah, his pieces are perfectly placed. You have to find a way to sack. Yeah. Alright man, tough game. I don't know what to say. I mean, you really tried. You don't deserve to lose, but the time is up, guys. The time is up, and I've got to go, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks everyone for subscribing and sending in the games. Hopefully future subscribers will send me games to private messages here on Lichess. If you subscribe between now and next week, send me a game and I'll include it. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks everyone for joining us, for new followers, and yeah, we try to get to the bottom of things here and take the game seriously. No wasting time. Anyway, I love chess, and I hope you guys can get something out of it. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Mr. Slow. Nefidov, everyone who's gifting the gift subs and subscribing, appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you definitely